Welcome on into the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. We are live once again. Slow day today, huh? What's going on? How's everybody doing? Oh my God, chat. Ladies and gentlemen, all victims of oppression, aka anybody who plays me in Monopoly. Oh man. We were the cat. We were the cat. Vio wanted to be the cat. Vio gets what Vio wants. Did anyone flip their board? Denims. Denims flipped their board. That shit was hilarious. Oh, man. Denims flipped their board. Oh, man. Monopoly only makes people angry. Oh, God. I mean, I was being a shit as well because I like being the villain. I can't, like, when I'm playing a board game with a bunch of people, I like being the villain so that people can, like, act out their, you know, I like when people are, like, trying to go after me because the games are more fun. So I was the perfect villain, and then I won on top of everything. Why did LSF craft a conspiracy about the Destiny ban thing? Because they're mentally ill. And it's actually, I don't know what Hassan should do, but he needs to do something. They are legitimately mentally ill. I want to explain something. So if you want to know what happened yesterday, chat, apparently, Destiny was unbanned for like 20 minutes. And I honestly, none of us noticed. And by the way, chat, I know what Hassan was doing in those texts. He was messaging me on Discord. You know what we were messaging about? The dicks on Zohran's stream. That's what we were messaging about. And he was like stressed because he doesn't want Zohran to look bad. That's literally it. Nobody, I didn't even know Destiny was unbanned. I didn't even know about that for like an hour later. You can go look on my Twitter. It's when I started laughing at the people and saying he's banned again. Because I didn't even know. You think I would have kept my mouth shut? So all in all, people just invented shit. They invented it. I just want to, you know, obviously no one's going to clip my shit and put it on LSF because LSF is specifically a Destiny Asmongold, like, you know, toilet. But I can tell you right now, Destiny will never be unbanned, okay? And the reason why Destiny won't be unbanned is because he and Dan Saltzman organized a Twitch advertiser harassment campaign where they set up a website that would get automated emails sent to and spam to a bunch of Twitch staff and Twitch advertisers over lies. They said that Twitch banned everyone from Israel. They just made it up, and it was in the email. So they're never gonna get unbanned, okay? Twitch does not have the habit of allowing streamers on their platform that do nothing but spam advertisers with slander and lies. They're just never gonna get unbanned. They would have been unbanned by now if it wasn't for that. And you don't have to believe me. It's okay. You're allowed to, you know, ask for proof. If you don't think I'm credible, then I'm not credible to you. That's fine by me. But I could just tell you, he's not getting unbanned. And they also harassed Twitch staff. They were looking for Hasanabi Twitch staff. And then Dan Saltzman leaked an internal post from the, like, what is it? The Trusted Safety Team Slack. Now, I've never done anything like that. Hassan has never done anything like that. So apparently Dan Saltzman of Destiny had access to the Trusted Safety Slack. How did they do that? They must have had a member of Twitch staff that was feeding them inside information. So if anybody had access and influence in Twitch, it was Destiny. So let's go ahead and throw that as my title. Destiny banned. Destiny unbanned. Not for long. LOL rebanned. And, you know, I don't normally care about LSF, but I do think that we should talk about this for a second. LSF making up insane lies over Hassan is like, it is kind of schizo. It is a schizo thing where they just make shit up and they just start posting it. And like no one actually believes it. They're just lying to each other and they're doing this posturing and it's fucking weird. I don't know how else to put it. Like, they are just making shit up. And it's so fucking... LSF is heavily irrelevant because they became a Destiny fucking fleshlight. So nobody cares about it anymore. It used to be a fun place. But then the bald guy ruined it. Stale 2000. Who, by the way, chat, got a hair transplant.
Oh my god! He wasn't lying!
Yeah, so it's
I got like most of it. So there's a slight bald spot still in the back here, but
Why do you still have a bald spot? I guess they didn't have enough hair follicles on his body that they could transplant.
that's all they could do.
Crazy.
That's all they could do at the time.
That's all they could do. Oh my god. This is the guy who ran LSF. This is the guy who ran LSF. If you want to know why LSF is fucking terrible, these are the Destiny fans that ran it. Bro, come on. All right, Chad. I want to show you something. This is schizophrenia. Hassan smiling moments after texting someone and Hassan Destiny being banned again. I will tell you who he was smiling about. It was me. I was messaging Hassan about Zohran Mamdadi's dick spam. I don't know if you saw the chat, but it was completely unmoderated, and I was dying laughing. You could also see it because I went over to Vio's stream. If somebody wants to line these things up, I was screaming, laughing, and I went over to Vio's stream and interrupted her stream to show her the dicks. This is all could be lined up. We were laughing at Zohran. That's what we were laughing at. There was ASCII or however you pronounce that stupid shit. But there was the text art of dicks, and it was being spammed all over the place. Screenshot of the mod response to the Destiny clip. They are fucking insane. While this post doesn't violate our rules directly, we also recognize how it can be seen as riding a very thin line to frame this clip in a particular way. We're allowing it to stay up with flare change as title misleading. What? It's directly against the rules of LSF. You're not allowed to speculate. Claims should be reasonably substantiated. Speculation should be clearly labeled. Like, what are you saying? This is complete speculation. I'm sorry. This is DGG Stark's rules. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm stupid. Hold on. LSF. Hold on. Let me pull this up. It says, unsourced, making unproven claims or allegations against someone with the sole intention of fueling, creating drama, or damaging. What the fuck are you saying? This is very clearly unsourced. You just have Hassan texting on his stream. There's no evidence here. There is absolutely no evidence here. What the fuck are you saying? Before he took over the subreddit, posts about Hassan were all Hassan W clips and clips of beautiful women. After he took it over, there hasn't been a single positive Hassan posted clips. Here, all boosted Destiny clips. These are all false. These are made up. Allegations may carry the burden of proof and making a claim required to back it up with evidence. What? What evidence? There's no evidence. Hassan smiling after texting someone and Hassan Destiny being banned again. This has no evidence.
There have been a number of questions on the Destiny thing. A human made an error to highlight that many people don't realize they're humans. Luckily, we were able to detect, so they detected very.
Okay, so someone new got hired at Twitch, unbanned Destiny, or a timer ran out. Who gives a fuck? And he was rebanned. He's never going to be unbanned. If you're Destiny, I want you to listen to me. You're never getting unbanned, man. You're never getting unbanned. Like, if you had just kept your harassment to other streamers, you would have been fine. Because obviously Twitch doesn't give a shit about streamer safety, right? But when you started harassing the actual staff and you started going after Twitch's bag, you pissed them off. And this, like, duh. You hate Hassan and me for made up shit in your own head, dumb fuck. You think these people are going to like you? You're done. You're never getting unbanned. You can't even collect revenue from YouTube anymore. And the thing is, like, if Destiny was like 5% more social, he would have had a great life. Because politics lets you be extremely antisocial. You could be an extreme freak in politics. Why do you think I'm in it? Like, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. You did the wrong thing. You went after the neutral capitalists and you went after their bag. You're fucked. And I made fun of him years ago for this because it was obvious. I made fun of him for years ago. And people, by the way, like, Hassan on his phone, most likely messaging Zohran's team in regards to their Twitch moderation as the chat was being spammed with porn. I want to confirm this. That's what it's about. He was literally texting me in Discord DMs. That's it. And I was going, oh my God, have you seen Zohran's chat? Holy shit, I'm dying laughing from the dicks. Or whatever I said. It's something similar to that. That's all it is. And this right here is a delusion. I want you guys to understand. Destiny posted, LOL, he was buried in his phone for 15 minutes, probably crying to his AM that I was unbanned. Remember, most of the toxic ideologies online today, blah, 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 bullshit. Bro, No one cares, man. No one cares, little bro. No one cares, little bro. No one cares. Like, this is just made up. Only survive when they're allowed to exist without contact with any other challenger. Bro, I debated you 7 times and then you threw in the towel and said, I'm not debating Mike anymore. He just uses my channel to grow. After you ended a vacation, this is literally true. If you want to know some more Destiny Mike lore, I was on my Discord. It was like 2 a.m. I was like being an insomniac. I was on my Discord chatting with like 10 people in my Discord chat. Destiny saw that I was in my public Discord's like voice channel, and in the middle of the night while on a vacation started his stream and joined my Discord to debate me while it was like 2 a.m. I want you to understand. And after we had that debate and he lost the debate, right? He had a meltdown on his stream and he said, I'm not going to stream with Mike anymore. He only gets like a couple hundred views anyway. He's irrelevant and he's just using my channel to grow or whatever. And that's when he started stalking me for like trying to make me into a lolcow, trying to find embarrassing clips of me or, you know, so they have in the 7 years I've been streaming, they have 2 things where they think I look embarrassing and they spam it. And it's all from like 6 years ago. That is the level of like psychotic delusion he's on. 7 years into a sin of Marxism that came from left field with the clips. Oh yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, whenever the thing about streaming is like, you know, I look at it and when I have 3, 4, 5,000 viewers, I consider that to be a very successful Twitch stream. And that means that I have some influence, especially in like the socialist left world, right? I recognize that my influence is highly concentrated in a specific, you know, niche subculture of America. Okay. And I wanted to, and I recognize that. I don't delude myself into thinking I'm super famous. But people that have 100 viewers delude themselves into thinking they're super fucking famous. It's crazy. I have no idea why Sin of Marxism hangs out in Hassan's chat and gets shouted out. Because listen, it's not my job to try to police other people's chats. But I'm pretty sure Hassan corrects Sin of Marxism a lot. I love the idea that Hassan actively pursues his deplatforming and has the authority to do so, but he lets Asmon go free on the site. It's insane how this dude did his ilk thing. Well, by the way, it's just made up. This is just a delusion they made up. Just like the shock collar. Kaya yelped once in literally years, and they sputted into he's using a shock collar and he was torturing the dog. They didn't show Hassan with the remote on stream. There is no actual evidence of any kind of sparks or any kind of like shock or any kind of like action from her neck or anything. There's nothing. I think I saw an LED. Like that's about it. And the other thing is like the idea of a shock collar being some sort of scandal is something they invented. What are they, fucking vegans now? You know what I mean? Like you go to any local pet shop and there's invisible fences and shock collars and prong collars and choke collars, like all over every PetSmart. Like, what are we even saying? Like, nobody even thinks this is abusive. So we have this frenzy, and Hassan has never come out and been like, I am completely against all negative reinforcement in dogs, no matter what kind of dog it is. Like, he's never said. So it's just like multiple layers of shit that's like stacked on each other that doesn't even make sense if you examine it. Hassan leaned forward off screen at the same time the dog yelped. That doesn't mean anything. That's not even evidence of anything. That's nothing. And I think that like one of the things that kind of scares me a little bit is just the delusion. Like, this is just delusion. This is just delusion. And this is why Destiny was banned. Extreme hateful content. Voting a majority of your stream towards promoting racism or xenophobia, going on a prolonged rant about how a specific group of people are a danger to society because of their religion, participating in or organizing a hate group's malicious activities. He said he's Islamophobic. Like, Destiny has said he is Islamophobic. He has openly taken on that title as a bigot. He has said he's pro-genocide. He argued for the mass killing of Black Lives Matter protesters. Like, the guy is not a normal guy. He's also called for Hassan to be killed. He said he wanted a website where Hassan's physical location is always tracked. He called for me to kill myself. All of this shit on his stream. Like, he is not, and then of course, you know, harassing Twitch staff and the, you know, Twitch's advertisers. The guy's never coming back. Ever. Like, that's just the way it goes. Destiny discusses why Twitch keeps them banned. Okay, this ought to be good.
Denied that appeal, so they flushed it out, which was nice. And then I did another appeal, and my guess is that this time, since that one employee isn't there, they probably, when that person reset my ban appeal, they got rid of that special note on my account that it always has to go to the whatever the fuck Destiny guy. And so probably the normal Twitch moderation like looked at the ban and they were like, wow, this guy got banned 4 years ago. This is kind of crazy. And so they unbanned me. But then once Hassan saw, he started to lose his shit. He texted Dan. Dan probably texted head of trust and safety, and then they rebanned the account. We banned my guess.
So he just made that up. That's just made up, right? That's just made up. Nothing there has any, it's complete speculation. He has no evidence for any of that. That's not what happened. Guy, you're not that important. You're really not that important. Like right now, I'm saying Destiny unbanned, not for long, LLO rebanned. And it's not, and I'm one of your main like supposed big bad enemies, right? Mike is one of the enemies, one of the lolcows of the DGG, right? Like that's the mental model they live in. You have no motion. I'm getting no fucking viewers. This is like below average. Like you have no fucking motion. You are fucking irrelevant, man. No one gives a shit. Really. I know you've dedicated to your life to fucking astroturfing Reddit. Hassan finds out about Destiny's unban. Okay, here we go. This is Hassan. Let's see if Hassan actually, what he actually says.
Depressed base, which led to reduced turnout. Right.
They did. He doesn't know. They did. Twitch did. That's insane. But I mean, Twitch is in the fucking pooper anyway. So who gives a fuck? Whatever.
Right?
Let's continue.
There's a lot more to say about this. There's a lot to say.
Right. That's about it. That's the reaction. He went back to watching Kyle.
About inflation. There's a lot to say about Biden's age. There's a lot to say.
Twitch was like, we have to get this sex pest who's written manifestos on being able to say the N-word back on the platform, please.
About doing the switch without actually having a process and, you know, having
That's it. We laughed at it and moved on. Like what? Like what? What Hassan was actually laughing about.
Guys, to everyone spamming the chat, let's try to be a little respectful, you know, keep it family friendly. We appreciate it. So we all know.
Now, what happened is when AOC came on Twitch, Hassan handled her mod team, right? Hassan, because she was playing Among Us and doing activities with Hassan, right? So when AOC came on Twitch, she was working with Hassan. When Zohran came on Twitch, he tried to do it himself with some TikToker who's been streaming for like 6 months. And I was like, who, a Megalol? I guess he's a local New York guy. So I kind of get it, but who, a Megalol? And you see one of my chatters saying, join DSA chat spamming. I don't know who that is, but you're awesome. Mike from PA chatter's in, right? The earnest Mike from PA chatter. The guy said streaming got big a year ago. Yeah, I know. Amazing.
You used to be a rapper. Yes. Nah, I'm just playing.
Xi Jinping spam.
Legend US Fair 5 _ said, who's your favorite underground rapper?
And then you have this. No.
That's not good.
Okay, what counts as underground?
That's what we were laughing and texting about. That's it. We were literally laughing at Zohran for being a disorganized guy on Twitch and how he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. And they had one mod. Okay? That's what we were laughing at. And I was messaging Hassan. Okay? And he was messaging, I'm sure he was messaging Zohran's team like, hey, you know, I could throw some of my mods your way so you guys can clean up the chat. But you know what I'm saying? Also, this guy dabbed up Zohran like 30 fucking times and it was hilarious. I was dying laughing. I was dying laughing because it was funny. Because, you know, if you go into Twitch and you're not prepared, then, you know, you're going to have some antisocial behavior because people do that. And it's funny as fuck. And Hassan was worried about Zohran. That's it. It's really just that simple. This like idea that we were even talking or thinking about Destiny is fucking delusional, man.
Yeah. But then, okay. But so that I know if Dan Clancy is gone, basically, assuming nobody else there develops hating, then because the ordinary ban process, I would survive. I just don't right now because of Hassan or Dan. I guess more Hassan than Dan.
Okay, so I just want you to, so basically what Destiny's trying to do here is get his, you know, channels to ban Dan. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys. Dan Clancy is way too much of a middle manager for me. If it was me, I would fly out to Austin. I'd go to Asmongold's house with my bodyguards. I'd knock on the door I'd go to Asmongold, I'd sit down with him and I'd say, listen here, man. If you talk about moderation anymore, I'm gonna ban you. I'm gonna go over all your streams with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm gonna ban your ass. And all the orgs that you're a part of, I'm gonna get rid of. Now, you could just comply, shut the fuck up, go about your business. If you want to test me, do it. And then I would leave. Now, Dan Clancy isn't that type of guy, okay? I am a psychotic, confrontational type person. Most people are not like that. That's why he's CEO and I'm not. Because I would have had the same fight over some unserious issue years before that and never been promoted, okay? Like, that's just the way I would have done it. And the thing about Destiny is he thinks harassing that Dan Clancy leaving is going to get him unbanned. It's not, okay? Dan Clancy is going to talk to whoever the next CEO of Twitch is and say, this person in particular damages our platform and they cannot be allowed on. It'll just be communicated to the next generation of people. It's not going to matter. It's going to be in there. It's permanent. You don't even have YouTube monetization, man. Like you're not him, man. You're not him. This is why I'm a diehard fan. I mean, it's just silly. Like,
look what it says he was banned for. Extreme hateful conduct. Devoting a majority of your stream towards promoting racism. Going on a prolonged rant how a specific group of people are a danger to society because of their religion.
Does anybody have the link of Destiny saying that he is an Islamophobe? Can we get that link in here? Does anybody have that? Does anybody have that link? I'd love to throw it up just to explain it.
Participating in or hate groups' malicious activity. Brother, for sending this fucking emote, go in my chat. The name of the emote is Juice. Like juicers. It's a dumb dog shit emote. It's excuse use of juice. I think he was spamming this emote and it got flagged by AI Clanka moderation.
This guy is just making shit up. What the fuck is he saying? This is what he means when he's talking about extreme hate on a religion.
Clear here, because people seem to misunderstand this. People don't get this. Destiny's joke borders pretty hard on Islamophobia. I am Islamophobic, and I hate Islam. I'm an atheist. Yes, I will make Islamophobic jokes, because I do hate Islam, and I am Islamophobic. Yes, I am an atheist. Let me repeat that. I don't know how many times I need to say that. If you're ever surprised, like, doesn't he hate, like, Christianity, or does he hate, like, Islam? Yeah, the answer is yes, I do.
Notice that he doesn't say he hates Judaism. Why not, SD? Why aren't you saying you hate Judaism? I mean, you're such an edgy anti-theist from 2005, right? Why aren't you saying you hate Judaism? What happened?
I'm an atheist. I hate all these fucking religions, of course. No shit I do. Yeah, what the fuck? If people always say this shit, like they have their own, like, I don't know if you have like a Christianophobic or whatever. Clear here, because people.
So, by the way, I think promoting Islamophobia, which, again, you can be Islamophobic. No one's saying you can't be Islamophobic, but on twitch.tv, you can't promote hatred based on a religion. You can't do that. That's just the TOS. And the reason why that's TOS is because Islam is the world's second largest religion, okay? And so there's billions of people with a lot of money who watch Twitch who would be offended if Islamophobia was promoted. It's also against civil rights legislation in this country, and that it could get Twitch in trouble with, the Twitch staff. If Twitch staff were forced to, tolerate that kind of stuff, that might cause Twitch to get sued, right? So ultimately, nah, dude, that's just not allowed. You can't say that shit, right? I talk about evangelical Christianity and criticize its theology, but that is different than saying that you are point blank Islamophobic. So what do you want me to say? Also, because you're an atheist doesn't mean you hate all religions. That's a him problem. All atheism means is that you don't believe in a God. That's all it is. It doesn't mean you therefore also have to be hateful toward all people who have a religion. That's your own shit. Okay, what is the, let's see, is there anything else? I mean, God, he's got so little motion. He got 2 posts. That's it? That's all? 2 posts? Mostly about Hassan? New York City Mayor Zohran's Mabdani first Twitch stream went as well as you could expect. Why does this, is this the only post about it, or is this a repost?
Hi, Dan. Can you talk about how ban length is determined for creators? It seems to be extremely arbitrary. Some content creators indefinite or for years, while others who engage in them are worse. The way, in terms of how the general ban length work, there are 2 factors. One is the severity of the offense.
By the way, they're trying to claim that when I made the joke about having an opportunity in Florida, that is extremely violent, right? Now, I never called for violence. I didn't say Destiny should be killed or anything like that. That would be absurd. Destiny has said that it would be better if I died. Does anybody have that clip where he said that it would be better if Hassan and I were dead? We should kill ourselves. Does anyone have that clip? Because we've never said that about him. See, the thing is, it's not just that Destiny said one thing and is, you know, contrite about it. No. He says the shit and it doubles and triples down and keeps doing it. Someone find the clip for me, if you would.
And the other factor is having repeat. So in fact, sometimes if you have an offense,
My first question is going to be, do you really think Hassan and Mike from PA should kill themselves?
I wish they would. Yes.
Do you think that's at all a harmful statement to make that goes against, I don't know, just objective morality?
No, I think their deaths by suicide would make the world a safer place for more people.
So again, this guy is a fucking being currently sued for doing revenge porn. He's admitted that he was trying to get sexual contact with someone who turned out to be 17. Her boyfriend, I guess, was catfishing using her CSAM material. And Destiny was perfectly fine trying to, I guess, hook up with someone he suspected might be underage, who was physically underage. So maybe he didn't suspect it. He didn't know that she was underage and he didn't suspect it. But I've never seen a 17-year-old that doesn't look at least young. You know what I mean? So this guy's, you know, and that's just a list of a long line of very questionable things he does towards his audience. So right off the bat, he says he's Islamophobic and he wants me and Hassan to kill ourselves and the world would be better with our deaths by suicide. Now, obviously what he's saying there is that it would be better if we were dead, right? He's saying by suicide so he can claim that he's not calling for us to have violence committed against us. But everybody with a brain understands that saying so much death would make the world a better place is implying that somebody should kill them, right? Like that's not a confusing, that's not a joke even, right? Now this doesn't bother Destiny's fans, right? This doesn't bother Destiny's fans. Destiny's fans, as far as they're concerned, this is totally fine. But God forbid someone make a joke about an opportunity. Well, then that means I'm violent. What the fuck are you saying? There were messages that came out that he suspected she might be underage, asked for age verification, and then decided he didn't need it. Destiny, in the future, if you have sexual contact with a child, it doesn't matter. Even if they showed you a fake ID, if you fuck a kid, you're guilty. It's a strict liability offense. You're not allowed to fuck kids. And the reason why that's the law is because perverts and predators could coach kids to provide them with fake IDs in order to justify their predation. So the law is you cannot fuck kids no matter what they say or whatever evidence you have that you thought they were overage. That doesn't work. It's not an excuse. And by the way, it shouldn't be an excuse. And anybody who wants it to be an excuse is a fucking pedophile. It's a fucking rape. Based on Dan Clancy's remarks, Asmod should be banned because he's a repeat offender. Twitch bans are bullshit. All punishments are arbitrary and discretionary. This is something that everybody, like, this is how I know someone is not very bright. And I don't mean this as an insult. I'm just saying, for me, I can kind of grok how intelligent somebody is or how, like, worldly they are based on if they think you can develop a totally fair system that is completely free of discretion. You can't. It's impossible. There will always be discretionary elements to any system of enforcement of behavior. There always will, and there always will be. And there's no way that Twitch could ever do, like, the only way Twitch could do it would be to require them to have a legal system. But even then, the legal system would then become political. So if we had some sort of like pseudo Twitch court where I got banned and then I could hire a lawyer and then appeal it within Twitch's court, and there was precedent and blah, 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 it ultimately would come down to discretion at the end of the day, right? There's no way of doing it without discretion being exercised. All judgment, all authority is inherently a political authority. That's why I like democracy, because at least there is like a safety valve where the majority of people, if they all think something's wrong, they could vote to get it changed. Instead of what we have now, which is a corporate dictatorship where there's never a moment of resolution. There is no appeal. It's just the corporation's judgment. That's why, that's why this shit's bad. That's why kings are bad. That's why monarchies are bad. That's why corporate power and authoritarianism is bad. If there's never any safety valve, if there's no way of overturning injustice, that it will persist. Nice time card. How do I feel about predator catchers? I think the predator catching community is very close to the predator community. I think that that if, you know, if people have like an OCD obsession with like pedophiles and they're like watching it all the time and like their minds are kind of consumed with that kind of content, it's a red flag. You know, like I think it's fucking weird, to be honest with you. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is carpetbagging into Florida's 20th, a black opportunity district, instead of running in her own. DWS is everything that's wrong with the Democratic establishment. From insider trading to payday lenders, I look forward to retiring her from public office permanently. Is this guy like actually left wing? I'll look into it. I'll look into it. Jasmine Crockett endorsed Wesley Bell over Cory Bush. Hey Keith, no one outside of the internet knows about AIPAC. That's the internet is 95% of people. All right, is there anything else? Oh, okay. So anyway, let's go back to this.
You eventually can to an indefinite. We've adjusted a lot of the policies around that. Strikes expire after a period of time. So it takes pretty consistent egregious action to lead to an indefinite suspension, either by a singular action or by consistent violating community guidelines. And so often the reason someone might be suspended for something longer is because of repeated violation. We also increase the length of a suspension based upon repeat offenses. So that's why when you look at it, you might see lengths of.
And like, you know, this is like, you know, Destiny got banned for this as well. He kept calling people the F slur back in 2018.
We're getting a new GameCube and maybe
back in 2018, he just kept calling people the F slur all the time. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I wasn't using the F slur anymore in 2018, right? And so he got 30-day bans. Twitch suspends popular streamers after use of homophobic language. Two of Twitch's more popular streamers say they've been suspended by the video game streaming service, apparently as a part of a crackdown on offensive and hateful conduct on the platform. Destiny and Mo, who Polygon notes have reputation for using language their audiences find amusing despite its offensive nature, said recently they received 30-day suspensions after using the homophobic slur during their streams. Many social platforms have cracked down on the use of offensive language in recent years just to avoid alienating users, but also to not incite real-world violence. I was given two reasons for why I was banned. The first one was because I called one dude a bad word. I called him the F word. I said the F word. No, and I called him an R word or whatever. Apparently that was bad, but they also clipped the thing where I was talking about and said, holy shit, maybe they should just fucking shoot Cubans who were swimming over to the US or something, or what my mom wanted to do to Mexicans or whatever. I'm going to try to stop using the word F, but it's one of my favorite words of all time, Mo said in a video. It's not offensive. It has a lot of different meanings. Like, so when Destiny was banned, it wasn't like he was banned one time for hateful conduct, but you know, see what I mean? He calls himself Islamophobic. Does anybody have the clip of him saying he supports genocide? I could use that clip as well. You know, he said that he wants the Palestinians, he supports their genocide. They should just go and, quote, live somewhere else. And then, of course, he harassed Twitch staff. He harassed Twitch's advertisers. I mean, we could all get into that. I don't think most people, you know, are crying over him harassing corporations or whatever. But when a corporation is determining whether or not you should be banned, if you're harassing their staff and harassing their business, they're not going to let you use their service. This guy sounds real bad, even without being a goddamn pedo. Now, listen, I don't think he's been convicted of pedophilia, but he is being sued for revenge porn. And one of the evidence is that he sent revenge porn of another person to someone who he thought he was talking to, who ended up being underage, but he was talking to her boyfriend, who apparently was above 18. So he thought he was sending it to an underage girl, but he was actually sending it to her, like, boyfriend, I guess. Destiny justifying the ethnic cleansing of millions, advocating Israel wipe out Palestine. Destiny has argued passionately that other countries should throw open their borders and embrace diverse. Oh God, this guy's a right winger. No, I can't like this. He considers all other forms of ethnic nationalism hateful because they're exclusionary. Yet he's perfectly fine with millions of other Palestinians from their ancestral homeland to create a Jewish supremacist ethno-state. He will still be safe from deplatforming and treated as a respectable voice by the liberal establishment because ethnic cleansing, collective punishment, and genocide are treated as respectable proposals as long as they're proposed to advance Jewish interests. Okay, this guy's an anti-Semite, very clearly. So, well, I didn't realize that. I didn't see that he was the Europa founder. This guy's a major fucking racist. Holy shit. Could you give me a better source for this clip? Thank you.
Honestly, I'm pro genocide. It sounds really shitty, but like I think that Israel should just drop its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really shitty, but like that's about where I'm at.
You just think the Palestine should just pack up and Native American the fuck out of there?
The problem is that it seems like there is a hugely general hostility to Jewish people across really the entire world, but definitely the Middle East. So the problem is that as you weaken Israel's like ability for Jewish people to live there, it seems like because there's a lot of different organizations across the Middle East that are highly invested in the destruction of Israel. So that's like a really rough thing too. So it seems like if Israel is forced to make concessions to Palestinians, it threatens Jewish people's ability to have a homeland. And so I don't know. It's really shit. Truthfully, the answer is like there's no good answer. It's hard. It's hard. It's a really, really complicated situation.
Well,
it seems like appeasing either end basically means like kind of the destruction of the other end. If you give the Jewish people what they want, Palestinians are essentially permanently cucked out of what they feel is their rightful homeland. And if you give Palestinians what they want, then probably a lot of Jewish people are going to die. Yeah.
So there's absolutely no evidence. By the way, this argument was made by every single oppressive apartheid state regime in history. They always said, if we give equal rights to the oppressed people, they will genocide us. They argued against freeing the slaves in America. They argued against ending apartheid in South Africa. And all over the world, they made the same argument, right? They always make this argument. I have to genocide you because you'll genocide me. And every time that these oppressive relations were overturned, it didn't happen. It's just made up. People want to live in peace. And the domination of, and Israel and Jewish are not the same thing. Zionism is and that's why he's an anti-Semite on all these. So Jewish people are not safe because of Israel. That's just bullshit. And notice that he doesn't want his house taken away, right? Like he's not volunteering for Miami or whatever, Miami Beach. Where does he live? He lives somewhere in Florida. I don't know where he lives, but he's not advocating that his home be taken away by force. He's not advocating that his livelihood be taken away by force. He's not advocating that he be herded into a concentration camp or deported to a land he has no connection with, right? He's willing to give away Palestinian land for the convenience of American politicians. Disgusting. I feel like he's always playing a video game while trying to talk and make himself appear intellectually superior, that he can multitask. That's just, he has ADHD. He's not very intelligent. He's not very intelligent. Destiny almost called Pixie's attorney an sand N-word midstream. What the fuck?
And I'm sorry, you disgusting piece of like fucking sand, whatever the fuck. And I'm sorry, you.
Yeah. Obviously, the lawyer is an Arab man. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much where we should call it, right? Like, I need to talk about it more. Like, there's really nothing more to say, right? Like,
depressed base, which led to reduced turnout. Right.
Hassan finds out about Destiny's Twitch unban.
Look what it says he was banned for. Extreme hateful.
Twitch user gets indefinitely banned for extreme hateful conduct over XQC related emote and ACSI spam. Appeal instantly denied. That's it? Man, like, LSF is dead as fuck, huh? Dead as fuck, huh? Kick bans top 500 worst view botters responsible for 13% of watch hours. We've so far banned 50 of the worst abusers from Kick, responsible for 67 million inauthentic recurring monthly watch hours. 13%. Bro, your biggest streamers are all botting too. Holy shit. Wow, Sneeko only gets 2.4K. Myron only gets 900. God damn, these guys have small streams. That's crazy. They got tiny ass streams. Out of curiosity, did you talk about the pro-Palestinian Bernie candidate Audrey Denny? I don't believe I have yet, but definitely post that stuff in my Discord. I'm trying to organize that shit. You know what I was thinking about doing? I really feel like we need to start another organization. Like, listen, I love Justice Democrats, but they're not connected to the online left space, which is kind of odd. You think they would be because they were founded by TYT and Kyle Kalinske. You would think they would be, but they're not. And it's weird that an organization founded by the online left doesn't know how to interact with the online left, right? Like, it's very weird, but it is a fact. They're kind of like just DC type people. Orgs on orgs. I mean, the problem is, like, I really should just, I don't think I have the motion to take over DS, like to get influential enough in DSA. I mean, maybe I do. Maybe I do. I know Hassan would. You know, if I were Hassan, then I would already be on the, I would be on the national DSA thing. Like, I would take over DSA in 5 minutes, and I would literally become, I honestly think DSA could use a figurehead, right? I think we could use a leader. Part of the reason why DSA is not going to become a political party is because we don't have a leader. And not having a leader means that you can't actually fully grow. Like, Zohran is as close to a leader as we get, but he's not a leader of DSA. He doesn't even endorse the full DSA slate, right? He's close. Unfortunately, he's not. And AOC's not, unfortunately. And like, that's kind of the problem is they are close and they're helping the org and they love the org and they're all that, but they're not like invested in the org. They're more invested in themselves. We need somebody who's like dedicated to the organization itself. You know, we need a Lenin. Yeah, and that's kind of the problem. Mike, I wanted to share good news with you. We just had 2 DSA members win seats in the city council in Tempe, Arizona. Send me their socials. Mike, clear the problem with DSA is it's not decentralized enough. Yeah, I am a centralizer. It's the reason why I'm so anti-anarchist, because I just don't agree with it. I don't think their praxis is good. I think democratization is something that happens at the end, not the beginning. I think what you need is like unified action, not unified deliberate or decentralized deliberation. And again, this is just my understanding of history, right? Like, I look at history and the movements that really kind of propelled themselves had a strong core and a nucleus, and they were focused on achieving ends. And people were not focused on like the deliberations. We have a Bolshevik party called the RCA. No, I don't, you know, part of the problem we have is the Russian intelligence services are so bad, and the Chinese are really not playing the game. And unfortunately, the Russian intelligence services are so focused on like getting people to argue their position on the internet that they focused on like funding people like Tim Pool and Jackson Hinkle. And it's like, because they're not really left-wing ideologically aware, like they're just like fascist, you know, Russian bourgeois puppet state. Like, the Russian intelligence is not very good at interfering in America, unfortunately. What's going on with Putin and Xi, do you think? I think Xi Jinping recognizes that Russia is an incredibly important counter-hegemonic state, and they have like a very long border, and Russia has agricultural and energy surplus that, you know, China needs. So having a good working relationship with Russia is necessary to prevent China from being isolated. Part of the reason the Soviet Union fell is the Sino-Soviet split. Part of the reason Russia fell is leftist infighting. Like, the Soviet Union fell was leftist infighting. Like, the Soviet Union had bad relations with Yugoslavia. It had bad relationships with China. It had bad relationships with Vietnam at times. Bad relationships with North Korea at times. Like, they only had good relations with their puppets. They couldn't form a like bloc. They wanted to have unchallenged authority, and that's also, Stalin was like fucked over China too. Like, they did all sorts of stuff that made the Chinese revolution harder, because he was worried about the power of a China reasserting itself. And like, Stalin kind of fucked up a lot after World War II. He was kind of bad at, like, that's why, like, one of the reasons to not be a Stalinist is Stalin was not very good at geopolitics, and he kept fumbling. Like, if Stalin like actually pushed in, you know, Greece, in Italy, in France, and helped Mao more like, there's all sorts of fumbles he did because he thought that he could get into mutual. What happened with Stalin is he really liked FDR, and he thought FDR would do rapprochement, and they would have tolerance, and they would have like mutually beneficial relationship. and that, you know, the Soviet Union would be rehabilitated into the world system. He thought that was going to happen after World War II. He thought the communist bloc was going to be allowed to have positive relationships with capitalist countries. He thought that World War II was going to be the moment that the Soviet Union was normalized for the world and allowed to re-enter the world, you know, intercourse and stuff. He was delusional. And maybe if FDR had lived, that would have come true. But unfortunately, Truman was the president, and Truman was an anti-socialist. So that did not happen. So he massively fumbled. Stalin was hailed a hero in 1945 by the West by FDR. By FDR. That's what you don't understand, is that FDR was pro-Soviet Union, or at least tolerant of the Soviet Union. FDR died because he didn't have blood pressure medication, and he had, I think FDR's last blood pressure reading was like 300 over 200 or something. 350 over 195. That's why everybody knew he was going to die. Because they measured his blood pressure and it was 350 over 195. Like, they knew it was not good. And by the way, they had invented blood pressure medication. It just hadn't made its way through testing and things. And so they weren't really, if honestly, if blood pressure medication had been invented a couple years earlier, FDR wouldn't have died for like probably another decade. The official cause of death was massive cerebral hemorrhage brought on by long-standing uncontrolled hypertension. In retrospect, FDR had what we call hypertensive heart disease. FDR's physicians did document signs of congested heart failure, swelling in the legs, shortness of breath, fatigue. But the understanding of heart failure as a progressive and treatable condition was still rudimentary. Diagnostic tools that we take for granted, like echocardiography, blood tests, or coronary angiography, were non-existent. In the 50s and 60s, spurred by cases like FDR, hypertension research accelerated. He literally had treatable hypertension. He would have been fine. So, like, that's like, anyway, I'm sorry for going off on a rant and talking about this, but the reason why I brought this up is because, like, Xi Jinping learned from history. Many of you who LARP as communists have not learned from history. And a lot of people, like, one of the worst parts about being a socialist is a lot of people LARP as stands of the Soviet Union. And so they defend the Soviet Union's policies decades after those policies were proven wrong. And that's like, so somebody will tell you they're a communist, and then they'll be like, oh, central planning is based, and if you don't support central planning, you're not a communist. And you're like, bro, it failed. What the fuck are you saying? What the fuck are you saying? And the one thing that gives me hope is the fact that the way that the Chinese Communist Party is a serious party. In fact, you could argue it may be one of the only serious socialist parties in the fucking world. They actually study reality, and they try to learn, and they have humility. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is extremely rare. The institutional culture of the Communist Party of China, as far as like, is technocratic and empiricist, meaning they try to make the best possible decisions according to what the evidence shows. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is not common in politics. How does party discipline absorb reality when parties are held by myth making? Well, the thing is, you have to, the way that the Chinese Communist Party works is they have a vetting process, and then they have specific spaces that are open to debate, right? So to be in the Communist Party of China, you have to be elite, and you have to be someone that makes it through the vetting process, right? So they're hiring, you know, if you're valedictorian in high school, they want you to join the Communist Party of China. Like, that's the way. Can you imagine you could only join the Democrats if you were valedictorian? You know what I mean? Or like your professor had to recommend you after you graduated, like you got the best grade in a college class or something. Like, that's the difference between the way the parties work, right? Like in China, to become a Communist Party member is like prestigious. It's hard to do. You can't just join it. It's hard to become a communist in China. Ironically, the place that it's hardest to become a communist is China. And you have to study like theory. You have to like take, and then there are party schools. There's the Central Party School. Like, seek truth from facts. That's the motto. Party School of the Central Committee of the CPC. I would love to start something like that, you know? The Central Party School is responsible for training the cadres of the CCP. It is the highest party school among a network of 2,700 party schools. It provides training courses on CCP ideology, governance, social sciences, and provides master's and doctoral degrees in humanities and social sciences. It trains leading cadres at the provincial ministerial level, department bureau level, young and middle-aged cadres and ethnic minority cadres, leaders of top state-owned enterprises, and centrally managed universities. CCP county secretaries, civil servants from Hong Kong and Macau, and to cadres who specialize in ideology, propaganda, and education. And like, can you imagine the Democratic Party having a master's degree level course in the social sciences? Like, imagine this shit. Like, this is just, people don't, they say the Communist Party of China and then they compare it to the Democrats. Like it's a comparison.
Happy May Day, everyone. Today I am at this beautiful campus at the China Academy for Social Sciences. And once again, I had the privilege of joining a classroom of students today who were commemorating this day by learning about the role of Mao Zedong in the resistance against Japanese imperialism and the war against China waged by Japan. One of the things that I found very interesting today was that the students that were here were not required to be here. This was a completely voluntary session that was being put on today for 12 hours. And so the students came to this university today to learn about this history on a day off. May Day is considered a holiday in China, and so students don't have classes today, but those who attended did so voluntarily. And the same could be said for the professor who was discussing the selected works of Mao Zedong, which he was sort of going through in relation to that period of the Japanese War of Aggression. And he was not being paid for his time here today. And like I said, it's a 12-hour session that they're putting on. And so it just goes to show a certain level of commitment to this history, to the understanding of Marxism, Leninism, and Mao Zedong thought, and the history of China's resistance against imperialism. And so that's what I found very interesting about today's discussion, because once again, in the Western world, we often don't see that kind of voluntary participation by students or professors. There's an expectation that if students are going to do work, they want to get graded for it, they want to have some sort of something to show for it at the end, and likewise, professors want to get paid for their work. And so it was very unique to see all of these students who were highly engaged, none of them on their cell phones, none of them surfing the internet, all of them very engaged, taking notes, giving verbal cues, indicating that they understand the significance of the points that was being made. And it was just remarkable to see, because a lot of these young people that were in that lecture are aspiring to become party members. And this is the type of work that they go through. Again, unpaid, largely unrecognized, voluntary work that is seen as important to building the revolution. And the students in there were very much engaged with the ideas of Marxism, Leninism, and applying those ideas to their understanding of China's history. And so once again, it was an eye-opening experience, and it was a really remarkable thing to see.
I mean, like, and that's the thing, like, even understanding China is something that Americans it's almost taboo. It's taboo. Has it been mentioned that the Destiny unbanned reban could have simply been Twitch testing out given the username handle to Bungie Studios? Oh yeah, they should do that. They absolutely should do that. Why the fuck haven't they done that? That's what they should do. They should change his name to like banned user 69. Send him an email saying your banned channel has lost claim on the name Destiny. It is being assigned to Destiny Studios. Bye. Well, they should do that. Destiny the game is also kind of dead at this point. True. Maybe they're gonna do Destiny 3. You don't know. No, they killed it for Marathon. I mean, Marathon is cool. Man, the Marathon. I wish they would just make a Marathon. Whatever happened to like a single player shooter? Just make Marathon. Just do a Marathon remake, like the original Marathon. Just make it like Doom, you know? It's about AI too. That's the thing that's funny. It's about AI going insane. It would have been so fucking prescient like 2 years ago if they had remade that instead of some dumb fucking live service extraction shooter bullshit. China has a better war enactment LARP than us. The original Marathon was one of my favorite, was one of the games that got me into gaming.
天上太阳红呀红彤彤哎，心中的太阳是毛泽东哎，他 领导我们的解放哎，人民翻身当家做主人，一呀一自由。
This is so fucking cool. This guy, what the fuck? This is mogging right here. The Chinese Civil War. Sir, do you have any idea how little that narrows it down? The last one. That one. The last one. Sort of like the last famine. The last Civil War. Guys, LARPing the Red Army's brutal long march take things to the next level. Why is this video not playing? This is cool as fuck, dude. Good LARP, man. That's awesome. Okay, anyway, let's talk about like actual shit.
In the heart of Chongqing, China, a massive empty site was transformed into one of the country's most ambitious transport mega projects.
I don't like the AI
this
fucking
is the construction.
Okay, shut the fuck up with the AI voice. But we could just watch the time lapse. America could not do this in 20 years. This was 3 years, by the way. 3 years. And they have done like this is AI enhanced. Yeah, it definitely does seem like AI enhanced. Damn it. I thought it was real, but I think you might be right. I think it might be AI bullshit, which is so unfortunate. I want to see a real one.
What about those?
All right, chat, let's get in there. Let's talk about some more fun politics related shit. We'll keep the Destiny banned LOL in the headline because fuck that guy. All right, so we played Monopoly last night, chat. Did anybody with Oliver Larkin, Denims, Sad Girl, Maple Takes, Swift Tour, who is apparently an OG and is fucking, he's the Monopoly king. And guess who won, chat? The moment Denims went bankrupt. Oh, Denims was so salty. Holy shit. Denims was so salty. She like landed on my property and she's like, oh, I'm gonna give all my property away. And I was like, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed. Come on. And by the way, that's not my opinion. In bankruptcy, you can't give your property away. There is a property transfer look back period in bankruptcy. There's a bankruptcy clawback period. Okay? The clawback provisions of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code are essential tools for preventing a bankruptcy estate and creditor's interest from preferential or fraudulent asset transfers that deplete estate funds and negatively impact financial recovery. So it's literally illegal to do that. Bankruptcy requires good faith. So you can't give away shit to spite your creditors. And the other thing is, you know, personally, from my point of view, I just want to say that for me, I wouldn't accept such property in the game. I wouldn't want that property. I want to win the game by not coasting on someone else's spite.
People having to swap, and this is actually less than that.
You owe $625, but you can't pay. Now, you're allowed to sell property to avoid going bankrupt. That's okay, as long as it's a good faith transaction, right, to recover more assets. You can't trade away property and not get if the trade does not realize you getting enough to pay me. You can't do that. But ultimately, chat, it's fine. It doesn't matter. You guys can cheat and I'll still win.
It becomes more likely to be any of the living players.
It's true.
You are only short
I will still win.
$500.
I will still win. You can cheat. You can add in bad faith. But the victory is still mine. And by the way, chat, because I won, Oliver Larkin is going to be recording something for our soundboard. Isn't that fucking based? Because I was the best capitalist, Oliver Larkin will be recording something special for my soundboard. Isn't that an awesome flex? You are just too stupid to understand art. That's why you're dumb. 6-player Monopoly. Was this an 18-hour stream? No, because I was in the game. When I was in the like, Swift Tour said at one point, wow, Mike, I didn't realize you were going to be so good at Monopoly. I know you didn't. That was the original point of the game. It's a criticism of capitalism. What do you mean? I loved it. It was a lot of fun. Pretty sick. All right. I don't think Denims has the full stream because, you know, losing first and everything. So we're gonna have to go over to Maple Takes.
10 years and it ruled. I don't have pink.
We're gonna have to go over. We're gonna have to go over to Maple Takes. Hold on. Let me see if we can see the very end of the game.
See, the thing is with Vio's rolls and my diabolic lay.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, like
Cash
200
and more cash, more cash.
I hope we can get more streams like this, as it was really fun and a breath of fresh air. I mean, listen. As long as you can tolerate my diabolical, ultra competitive strategies, then that's fine. Like, I'm min-maxing every game I'm in. I'm not playing for fun. Fun for me is winning the game. Okay. So as long as you are there to compete, as long as you're there to give it your all, then we'll have a good time. If you're there to be like, oh, we're just trying to have fun for everybody. You know what's fun? Performing.
$100. Look at that.
There you go. Let's go.
Not bad.
You were less annoying because you were a sussy. Yes, exactly. I was also a sussy.
You can actually survive a light blue hit.
Man, people have been dodging those Browns.
Browns. Yeah, they have been.
Those Browns have been stinkers.
I'll be
Browns let
insane
me
if
down.
they gave money properties.
Oh yeah, and Vio was literally giving away my shit during the game as well. Whenever I would go to take a piss, Vio would like give away property and money to other players. I didn't just win. There was literal welfare being paid. Vio gave away $300 at one point. Proves that billionaires can pay tax money while still paying tax. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I developed a lot of property. You know, there was a lot more housing when I was done. I was pretty much the ideal capitalist. I was reinvesting my money in, right? I was building housing. We had hotels. We had housing. It was dense, walkable housing. You're welcome. You're fucking welcome. The Browns suck. I explained capitalism to my wife by emphasizing how bad the Browns are. The reds, yellows, and the greens. The best, okay, if you want to know some strats, the best colors are light blue, the like pink, and orange. Those are the best monopolies. And some of the yellow and red are decent. With the brown, yellow, and red are decent. Boardwalk and Park Place are okay because there is a car that takes you to Boardwalk and it is cheaper to build up Boardwalk. The worst monopoly in the game is the green. The green fucking sucks, okay? The green fucking sucks. Really? Yes, really. Utilities are they're non-factor. They don't fucking matter. They're whatever. And the railroads are good if you can get 3, right? If you can get at least 3, the railroads are pretty good. Mike said Pennsylvania sucks clock. The Pennsylvania piece on Monopoly, the Pennsylvania Ave is fucking garbage, yes. Dark blues are an all or nothing play. If you can win the game in one shot, but no one lands on it, you've thrown everything. The thing about Boardwalk and Park Place is they're actually not that expensive to get rolling. Not to go into a deep dive on Monopoly strats, but my favorite Monopoly is the light blue because you can get 4 houses on them super cheap, and people land on them very regularly because they're in the prime range of rolling out of go. Out of the whatever people they pass go, or they get a card that sends them to pass go, they're in the like high range of rolling a 7 and an 8, you know, like the 7, 6, 8, that kind of range, the 9s. That is where people land to the light blues, and they're only $50 a house. So you can build them up really quick, and that is a pretty stable stuff to get. Like, and people don't usually go bankrupt from them, so people don't usually get mad at you. You know, they're paying their $400, rent or whatever, and they're not super tilted. They're coping when they land on that. Purple is great, but orange is better. Purple is great though. Purple is like second best Monopoly. So when I had four houses on the purples, it was super fucking Jover. Red is not good. Red is not as good. Red is overrated. The problem with red is the houses cost $150 each. So you really have to invest a lot to get the housing. If red is win more. That's my own personal take. I will trade red for pink and orange every day and twice on Sunday. Like, red is the win more one. But that's my own take. That's my own take. Like, I'll do a red if I have to and hope I get lucky. I like yellow and dark green. Dark green sucks. Dark green is the worst Monopoly in the game. Unless you're playing with like bullshit rules about free parking or whatever, it fucking sucks. Like, if you play Monopoly incorrectly and do this thing where you put the money on free parking and then everybody gets like a constant infusions of cash, then you could afford to do green. But other than that, you can't because it's too expensive. Green is the ultimate trap. That's the newbie trap. Red is better. Dark green is the hardest to land on and cost the most to develop. Yes, it sucks. Did you win last night? Of course I did. I refuse to play the game with free parking. All free parking is free parking. That's all free parking is. Free parking is free parking, meaning a space you can land on that doesn't cost anything. How do you determine hardest to land on? Because of there's a bunch of cards in the community chest and chance cards that send you places on the board. There is the go to jail space, and there's the fact that you start at go, right? So you start at go, which is on the other side of the board. So you have to go around 3 sides of the board before you get to green. And there are no cards, as far as I'm aware, that send you to green. So to get to green, you have to pass through all these squares that could send you in other places. And it takes a long time to get there once you're on go. So that's why it's the least landed on. The place that's landed on the most is the oranges, because people get sent to jail. And when you roll out of jail, the most likely rolls when you roll out of jail are 6, 7, and 8, right? Those are the highest part of the curve, the most likely rolls, and that lands you right into the orange area, right? 6, 7, that's right. So that's just how rolling 2 dice works. So mathematically, your odds of landing on orange are much higher than other spaces. And it's not that far from the go. So like, you know, people end up on orange a lot. Hassan is in a Danish newspaper. Okay, what is this? They stole his, this is just stealing his picture. How the fuck is this legal? This is literally just theft. Did they pay him for this? This is actually this is actually intellectual property theft. This is actually intellectual property theft. Unless they licensed it from GQ. Maybe they paid GQ. Also, what does this say? Kan han red die Amerikanisch wenn Streisflosch? What's this mean? Can han red den Amerikanisch? Can he save the American left? Oh, and the answer is yes. By the way, the answer to this question is absolutely yes. Like, Hassan Piker is actually doing it. And like, you know, one of the things that kind of sucks is, and this is something that we all gonna have to deal with going forward, which is like, a lot of people are not used to having power. And I know that, you know, ContraPoints made that embarrassing post about they don't want power, they just want to endlessly critique power. The problem with that post is that there's some truth to it. And it's coming from the dumbest person in the world, because she also doesn't want to wield power. She just wants to give power to any Democrat. It's her. She's a stand for the Democrats. She's not actually trying to achieve anything. The thing about me and Hassan is we are trying to achieve concrete policies, right? Medicare for all, a Green New Deal, freeing Palestine. Like, I'm trying to get power to accomplish those policies. I'm not trying to achieve power to have power, right? So the problem with ContraPoints is she's not trying to wield power either. And like, ultimately, a lot of people, they have a self-conception, which to them is important, right? Which is, I am good because I am not like you. I'm good because I don't care about elections. I care about being the most anti-Palestinian on my Twitter, or most anti-Zionist on my Twitter, right? Like, that's what these people care about. I think I'm the most anti-Zionist because I can criticize where Zohran is being forced into compromises, and therefore I hate Zohran. They think that's legitimately politics. And, you know, listen, I want to be completely honest with you, chat. I'm not a moralizer. Like, I would work with evil fucking people if I had to achieve Palestinian freedom. It is true, I would. Freudian slip. No, it is a Freudian slip, because those people are anti-Palestinian. Because Palestinians want any help they can get. I can tell you right now, Palestinians are not going fuck Zohran in Gaza. Like, that's just not, that's insane. That's not what's going on, right? Like, that's just not a thing. If you're speaking about Zohran and Graham Plattner a lot, you are not talking about what Palestinians want. If you're attacking Hassan for doing the flotilla to Cuba, you're not doing what Cubans want. Which brings me to today. The real reason Debs lost in 2024, it was Gaza. Now, I want to say something right now, chat, that I need you guys to understand. I need you to listen to me very clearly, and you need to open your fucking ears, because this is very important that you understand this. If somebody denies that Gaza is why Kamala Harris lost the election, they are anti-Palestinian. And their politics, they have some other political goal. I need you to understand this. I don't care if the person claims to be pro-Palestinian. If they deny this reality, they are anti-Palestinian. And they are focused on advancing their own politics. Now, I also want to say something to be very clear. I mean everyone who says this, okay? The evidence is so clear that Gaza was a major source of the lack of enthusiasm for Kamala Harris that you have to be on the level of election denial in order not to see it. If the DFC autopsy was honest about Gaza, new poll suggests Gaza ceasefire and arms embargo would help Dems with the swing state voters. Voters want the U.S. to call for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza and prioritize diplomacy. Majority in U.S. disapprove of Israelis in Gaza. Endorsing Israel arms embargo increases Harris's support to 49%. Poll, Wisconsin, PA, and Michigan voters believe we're too involved in foreign wars and affairs. Most worry World War III happening. Like, the evidence is very clear. It's undeniable. It was not mostly racism. Joe Biden was more unpopular than Kamala Harris. Joe Biden was more unpopular than Kamala Harris. What, were they racist against white men? Were they like less racist to black women and more racist to white men? It's fucking stupid. I'm sorry. You're denying something, and I don't know what your motivation is. That's silly. Now, I'm not speaking to FD Signifier as an individual. I'm just saying that I don't know if he's like reading something that's, you know, I don't know if he locked in on this position right after the election because it was very popular for liberals, right? It was very popular in the liberal kind of sphere. Maybe on YouTube, they didn't look at the evidence very closely. I don't know. I'm not attacking FD Signifier, but I'm saying right now that Joe Biden was less popular than Kamala Harris. What, was the country more racist against him? No. I also want to say racism exists. Absolutely. But there are plenty of people that are racist that are willing to vote for a black candidate. I want your minds to explode, but that is so obviously true if you know anything about racism, that there are a lot of racist, sexist people who would nonetheless vote for a woman or a black woman for president. There were a lot of racists who voted for Abraham Lincoln. There's a lot of racists who voted for LBJ. It happens all the time. There were a lot of racists who voted for Barack Obama. He won Iowa and Indiana and North Carolina and Florida. What, you think they suddenly became racist after voting for him? No, there were a lot of racists who voted for Obama. That is what happens. So why would you want to deny it? Why would you want to deny that Gaza was the reason? Well, the answer is there's never ever one reason and one reason alone. Okay, like, let's be completely honest. The reason why you would want to say it's something about sexism and racism, it means you don't have the you can't change Kamala Harris's race. You can't change Kamala Harris's sex. They are what she identifies as a woman. She's a woman. She is a black woman. Society calls her a black woman. So she's a black woman. Did I use the housing shortage strategy? Yes. For most of the game I did, but then I eventually rotated to going to hotels because someone sold their houses so there was an abundance of housing. So I eventually switched to hotels, and the hotels on the light pinks was why I won the monopoly. I got people landing on the light pinks. Somebody pulled a card to go to St. Charles Place, and it fucking crushed them because I had 4 houses on there. I gambled and took myself down to $80 building houses, and then somebody pulled the St. James Place, the St. James card, I think, which set them, which fucking put me on the right side of the curve, so I was able to win from there. It was Oliver who I think pulled it. Yeah. Somebody find that clip. It was fucking awesome. Oh, he went to Little St. James. No, it was St. Charles Place. FT just thinks Gaza is not the most significant reason Dems lost. He thinks it contributed to the autopsy made him less sure of how much of a role it played because they didn't look into any role. They didn't look into any reason because that's not what the autopsy was even about. I looked at it. The autopsy was mostly talking about very inside baseball shit, and it was very unsourced and poorly written. And like, I want you to understand. So the reason why I'm bringing this stuff up is the Gaza genocide. Did that matter to the people in this chat? I'm going to do a non-representative scientific survey. How many of you were either did not vote for Kamala Harris or were heavily de-energized because of the Gaza genocide? Now, obviously, there's a selection bias effect here. Like, this is the home of the electorally engaged people who are pissed off about the Gaza genocide. I mean, I didn't even vote for Kamala, right? This is the first time I haven't voted for a Democratic president since I was 18. Okay? Like, and I voted every election. So I voted for Hillary Clinton. I voted for Joe Biden. I voted for Barack Obama. You voted R before you turned 18? No. I'm saying I literally always vote for Democratic presidents and have been since like I've been basically really mentally aware. I have voted for I voted for some Republicans when I was a kid because of my parents. When I was like literally brain dead. My parents were conservatives and made, you know, that was just the way it was in my house. My mom ran for school board as a Republican. So I voted for her. And by the way, she was a pro-teachers union Republican, which does not exist anymore, obviously. She was endorsed by the teachers because she was so pro-teacher. She was endorsed by the unions because she was so pro-union. So people will talk about my mom, but they don't know anything about her. She is part of a type of Republican that no longer exists. There was something called a liberal Republican in Southeast Pennsylvania. They don't exist anymore. Well, I mean, Brian Fitzpatrick is like the final dying ember of this idea. But they used to be a very important part of American politics, was the liberal Northern Republican. They were like pro-abortion, they were pro-union, they were like, but they don't exist anymore. It's not even really important, but they're gone now. He's a Romney Republican? Nah. No. No. I don't like Mitt Romney. My grandmother was the chair of the Colorado Republican Party, and she was exactly what you're describing. After politics, she was a Hawaii lesbian. Yes, I know. I have a good collection of Detroit and New York City libs as friends, and even they were really demoralized because of Gaza, even before Kamala took the race. Yes, Gaza demoralized people, and the reason why I brought that up is because it's obviously true. Social media was full of people attacking Kamala Harris over Gaza. There was a massive progressive energy failure. She was like being protested at rallies. She was like kicking out like Democratic Party officials from rallies. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Of course it did. You could see it happening. The delusion. So why would somebody want to deny that? Well, the reason why you want to deny that the Gaza genocide was a key factor is because if it's just Kamala Harris was black, just Kamala Harris is a woman, then we don't have to change anything except not nominate black women. That's the conclusion they want you to draw. Because because there's plenty of white men who will be neoliberals like Kamala Harris. And now they have a justification for nominating a white man. Because if they can blame blackness, if they can blame her being a woman for the loss, then they can nominate Gavin Newsom. They can nominate Pete Buttigieg and say it wasn't her politics that lost it. It was her race and her gender. That's why we have to go with Gavin Newsom. It's about taking all the energy out of a reform agenda. Now, if you don't know that, you're being a useful idiot for the right in the Democratic Party. If you don't know that, or you don't observe that as a factor, then you're foolish. Because there isn't a prominent black woman who's going to take the nomination but Kamala Harris. So by saying it's Kamala Harris's blackness and Kamala Harris's feminineness, you can then use Kamala Harris's defeat against all women and all people of color who might want to run for president. Now, Barack Obama was able to win twice as a black man, right? And so that's a very inconvenient fact for the people that say it's racism, right? So they will try to say it's because she's a woman. Listen, Hillary lost and Kamala lost. We can't nominate a woman. Well, who's running for president that's a woman? Her name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The way to attack AOC without actually talking about any issues is to say it's her woman, that, women of color can't win. Country's too racist, too sexist. Doesn't matter that the governor of Michigan right now is a woman. It doesn't matter that a black woman represents Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Somehow it's womanness and blackness that make her unpopular, right? Doesn't matter. And by the way, Summer Lee's district, 70% white. Summer Lee, a black woman, socialist, represents one of the whitest major cities in America. But why the fuck are we spreading these lies that it was Kamala Harris's race and gender that was determinative? Well, because, again, as I said, it's a strategy for liberals to push Gavin Newsom on you or Pete Buttigieg on you by getting you to believe that being a woman is some sort of major deficit that makes it too risky. It is an electability argument being smuggled in to protect the status quo. That's what's going on here. You got to be smarter than that. So I don't care who's saying it was blackness and woman. Maybe they're just not aware of the facts. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. What do you want me to say? Black people can win president of the United States. A woman could win president of the United States of America. That is absolute. Now, there are a lot of bigots and racists in this country and misogynists. Absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. 100% there are. It is real, but almost every single one of them are already voting Republican. 45% of this country you could call racist, sexist, whatever you want. If it is their controlling factor in their vote, they've been voting Republican for 30 fucking years, okay? We don't need to win every racist. We don't need to win every sexist. We just have to win a majority of the country. And a majority of the country would vote for a woman or a black person. They would. And I don't want you to use this like pessimism for the purpose of defending liberal policies, which is exactly why we actually lost. How do you think the centrists will play the rat fuck? By doing exactly what we're hearing this morning, which is like, oh, Kamala Harris lost because she's a black woman. And I like AOC, but, you know, she can't win because she's a woman of color. And this country's just not ready for that. That's why, aw, shucks, we got to go with Gavin Newsom. He's electable. That's exactly what they're going to do. And I want you to know right now that if Gavin Newsom is nominated or whatever, I'll do everything I can to lose. I will never support another neoliberal ever again for anything. I am a factionalist, either my faction or the highway. That's just the way I'm going to be for the rest of my life. I'm never voting for another faction person without getting a lot in return. And when we talk about the policies, AOC, should we raise taxes on billionaires? 95% of Democrats and 75% of independents. Gavin Newsom says no. Would you support or oppose abolishing ICE? 78% of Democrats and the plurality of independents say yes, including 22% of Republicans. Is there a genocide in Palestine? 67% of Democrats, 47% of independents, only 11% of Democrats say no. And only 25% of independents say no. Would you support or oppose Medicare for all? 85% of independents and 57% of independents and 85% of Democrats support. Only 7% of Democrats oppose. Yet half the fucking Democratic politicians oppose it. Why is that? 34% of Republicans support it. It is exactly the type of issue that goes deep into the Republican base and attacks them. Let's go ahead and read. Now, there is a guy named G. Elliott Morris. I remember yelling at this kid 7 years ago in his Twitter replies, arguing with him about these issues. And he has marched in my direction. Every year, he's come further and further in my direction. I had intended to publish a wonky chart of the week for today about why I think this article by Charlie Kirk overstates the impact of partisan sorting and understates Democrats' chances for the midterms. But the news cycle got in the way. The piece got pretty weedsy anyway, so I'll probably be better as a deep dive for previous subscribers. I've scheduled it to publish next month while I'm out on paternity leave. Congratulations, buddy. To take its place, what the news gods have given us the Democratic National Committee's autopsy of the party defeat. Unfortunately, there is little to learn from the autopsy. The story is mostly about what's not in it, which I'll get to. As for what's included, start with the fact that it contains many factual errors. It's a draft report, as evidenced by wordings such as the one below that appear on nearly every page. 270,607 votes across 4 states decided the presidency. That's wrong. The autopsy does not really present a unified theory of why Kamala Harris lost in 2024. The unnamed editor writes, among other things, that the party moved too far left and failed to define Trump and go negative effectively. But it arrives at these conclusions with a surprising lack of new research and with a lot of pundit conventional wisdom and analysis you'd expect from someone committing the strategist fallacy. I don't know how much the DNC pays for reports like these, but presumably if it really wanted... Oh, by the way, the strategist fallacy is like, I'm a strategist, and the basically what it is that the campaign makes decisions, and those decisions matter, right? Like, if I decide to run television ads instead of digital ads, I'm saying that matters for the outcome, right? Like, and the fallacy is because I could have do something different, that different decision could have made a difference. That's not true. Sometimes none of that matters. Like, sometimes it does. Maybe on very like there's a lot of study on do campaigns work, and I would say the most optimistic result is that a good campaign can move your numbers by around 7 points. Okay, like a good solid campaign can move your numbers 7 points in your direction. Okay, based on what the fundamentals are, right? And there's sometimes, like, assuming your opponent is like a replacement level opponent, right? Not somebody who's like completely terrible pedophile or something, right? So 7 points is what a really good campaign can change it from where the fundamentals are, which is a lot, by the way. but it's also not that much. You get my point? Like, it is a lot, but it's also not that much. I don't know how much the DNC pays for reports like these, but presumably, if it really wanted to understand why Harris lost, it would want to invest some of the resources into I'm talking about general elections, by the way, into fact-finding research like surveying state party chairs and local officials, as well as talking to voters who switch sides. Maybe you could even do some original causal research on its theories. But the biggest problem is that the autopsy straight up ignores the major reasons Harris lost in 2024. Yes, it's bad enough the report doesn't mention that party bosses failed to coordinate an early exit for Joe Biden, who was too unpopular to win. And there's no mention of Israel Gaza, low turnout in the cities, and nothing on Harris's race or gender. But this is data-driven site, so I want to really focus in on what the numbers can tell us. When we boot up the data, it's an obvious the main reason that Harris lost, and the reason I am going to explore here at this website, it being a data-driven website, is that 2024 simply had too much inflation-induced anti-incumbent sentiment for the incumbent party to overcome. This is curiously missing from its main diagnoses. The word inflation isn't mentioned in the autopsy a single time. The reality of the 2024 election is that it was going to be hard for Democrats to win, regardless of who they were or how they campaigned. Broader economic and political conditions were so favorable to Republicans that you would have expected Trump to win 90% of the time, regardless of campaign or candidate effects. I agree with this completely. And in fact, it's why I said we needed to have a bold campaign, because that's the only way to try to shake up the fucking race, because the status quo was unpopular. It's a change election. So the only chance is to make Trump the guy of the status quo. So you needed to be doing everything radical to position yourself as the change agent. That's the only way you had a chance. And in fact, if you look at the campaign, the time where Kamala Harris was leading in the polls was the fleeting period after Joe Biden dropped out and she was the nominee. And there was the coconut pilled. Everybody became coconut pilled because they thought she was going to represent radical change. But then she came in and she said, actually, I'm going to do no change. And that was the moment that everybody was like, oh, yeah, she sucks. And she slowly drained the air out of the balloon of her popularity. Political scientists have been pointing out for decades that you can predict presidential elections reasonably well using two pieces of information: how voters feel about the incumbent president and how voters feel about the economy. Guys, this is called materialist analysis. We are analyzing the sentiment of the people, and if they don't like the economy, meaning their material conditions are worse off. And it's, by the way, not some, economics objective analysis of the economy. It's the way that people perceive the economy in their personal life. All right. It is not. So that's why being a good politician is about communicating that things are good. And the other second part is actually making them good for the majority of people. Right? So you make things better off for the majority of people, and you connect that being better off to you, and then you win. You get it? That's why FDR got 60% of the vote. That's why LBJ got 60% of the vote, because people felt like they were doing things to help them, and they saw those things in their life. That's why, even though the economy was still struggling in a lot of ways with FDR, he was getting landslides because people saw their lives improving. They saw their city getting shit fixed. They saw a brand new, beautiful public art. They saw new infrastructure. They saw a new public park. They saw 13 million people get hired by the government for a job. They saw themselves get fed and clothed and housed. That's why they liked him. And he did fireside chats. He was the streamer of the day. FDR took to radio. That was the streaming of the day. That was the brand new cutting edge mass communication technology. And President FDR did fireside chats. He spoke directly to the voters using that technology. That's why he was popular. He was a streamer. He was the original streamer. The original political streamer is F-fucking-DR. I mean, and then there's also like Father Conklin and other people like that. They were, the Asmongold's of their day. Okay. There are many variants of this model, such as the bread and peace model, the time for change forecast, the Ray Fair's fair model, and the Weltson-Erickson's work with leading economic indicators, but all these use a similar set of economic and political fundamentals to predict the result of the election. None of these models is perfect, but they are a useful baseline for forecasting elections and understanding why certain results happen. One use of the predictions is to distinguish the part of an outcome that's about candidates and campaigns from the part that's structural. And this is why I say the 7 points number. The reason why I know what I'm talking about more than every other similar online, pundit, and I'm sorry to put it in such, I'm sorry for sounding arrogant. Like, I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just saying, like, I've actually read and studied this stuff. Okay. And most people that talk about politics online do not. Okay? Like, they don't know what any of these things are. All right? Like, they just don't. The only other, like, the few people that I think are decent, I'm fans of, and I watch their shit. But very few people actually know what the fuck they're talking about. And it's very frustrating. The 7 keys guy blocked me, by the way. The keys are the 13 keys or whatever. I made fun of him. What's his Twitter? Let's see if we can find my tweets at him. See if he should have blocked me or not. What's the guy's Twitter account? You guys know. I guess Nate Silver can turn the keys after all. Oh, this is why he blocked me. I said, yo, were your keys right in 2000 or were they right in 2016? Because you said the 2000 election was to predict the popular vote after you picked Al Gore, but then in 2016 you picked Trump and he lost the popular vote. Just trying to make sense of your claims. Alan Lichtman predicts winner of presidential election, not popular vote. He predicted Trump in 2016. Also, months after the 2000 election, 2 indie studies counted Florida votes. But SCOTUS had stopped count. Gore won Florida and so the election. Lichtman was right. He's 100%. So what he isn't right, he's actually right. Got it. By the way, that's not winning the presidency. The winning the presidency is being sworn in to the office of the president. So this is why he blocked me. This got thousands of likes, by the way. I don't know why all the replies from years ago are losing their like counts. Have you guys noticed this? Like, old posts are just getting stripped of all their likes. Why is this happening? So Alan Lichtman, instead of responding to me, just blocked my ass. The issue with Nate Silver is he's a compiler of polls, a clerk. He has no fundamental basis in history and elections. If we bounced presidents based on perceived physical ailments, we would have bounced FDR, Reagan, and a JFK. So let's see. Let me see what else I said to Alan Lichtman. The reason why I'm looking this up is because one of the ways that people try to affect my reach is by just blocking me and not engaging, because I'm a large account, but I'm not super large. So whenever I reply to people, they get ratioed, like most of the time, because again, I'm posting the correct response. I'm not a fucking idiot, but I'm not so big that I could like get you guys to bully them enough. Right. So they will. That's, you know, I would get a lot of centrists really hate my guts. So when Biden doesn't win re-election in 2024, will we ever see this arbitrary grab bag of bullshit again? Make of his argument what you will, but he did ingest that. Kevin Warsh just got thrown in. Welcome, Swardig. Welcome to the casino era of Wall Street. Yeah, I mean, I think the bubble's going to inflate quite a bit from here, probably for a while. Constructive criticism hurts feelings. By the way, notice that I got blocked. I didn't say that you're an asshole, cocksucker, piece of shit. You know what? I didn't like threaten him. I didn't call him an idiot. I didn't. You see what I mean? Like, all I said was, yo, there's this thing that is substantive about your track record. This is the type of shit that'll get you blocked the most. Anyway, sorry for bringing that up. You didn't make fun of his bad hair, his bad rug, yeah, his bad toupee. And by the way, I was correct. The keys were wrong. Alan Lichtman is a hack. Donald Trump won the presidency. The chart below shows a model I built for exactly this explanatory purpose. It uses Gallup's net approval of the incumbent president, measured in June, and the trailing 2-year average of the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index to predict the incumbent party's share of votes cast for the Democratic and Republican candidates for president. What we call the two-party vote share. That's it. 2 variables, both measured before Labor Day, both knowable months before any ad runs, and in some cases before candidates are even picked. The dashed line is a perfect prediction. The shaded line shows the 80% prediction interval for the 2024 election, and the solid blue dot shows the actual result of the race. In 2024, Kamala Harris received about 49.3% of the two-party vote. The model, fit on data from 1956 through 2020, predicted she'd get about 48%. With an 80% in prediction interval of 46.6 to 49.9. Harris's vote share lands on the upper end of this range, but still squarely inside of it. In a sense, then, the surprise of the election is that Harris did as well as she did, considering the prevailing factors against her. Given Biden's approval rating in June, deeply underwater in the high 30s, and 2 straight years of the worst consumer sentiment readings outside of a recession, the Democratic nominee was on track to lose the popular vote by 4 points. She lost by 1.5. I agree with this, by the way. I think the hatred of Donald Trump is so intense in this country that he has a very, very low ceiling. And therefore, his opposition has a very high floor. So I agree with this. I think she did surprisingly well. Contrary to the autopsy and strategic thinking, you don't need a theory about Harris's past issue positions or whether the campaign spent too much on broadcast and not enough on connected TV, or whether Future Forward, Democratic Super PAC, and the campaign had aligned strategies to explain the 2024 outcome. The fundamentals already explain it. Well, the thing is, Elliot, about the fundamentals is that doesn't result in you getting paid billions of dollars, man. I don't get paid billions of dollars by saying, hey, the fundamentals explain it. You know what I mean? Like, I just... I found that people don't like giving or hearing this explanation for election results. I recently tried at a meeting with congressional staffers, and I think it left them dejected or upset because it left them with a few action items besides run anti-incumbent candidates when the economy sucks. Well, I have action items. My actions items are the economy sucking is not the same thing as the economy sucking for the individual. So if the economy sucks in the aggregate, but the concentration of the economy sucking is in the top 5% of the income ladder, but for 95% of the rest of the people, their lives are improving economically. Well, for them, for 95% of people, the economy is going to be fundamentally good. So we should concentrate the pain at the very top and socialize the gains, which, by the way, is exactly what you see in Mexico. In Mexico, the economy has been growing in Mexico, but not really that fast. But it's been growing really fast for the bottom 60, 70% of people. So in Mexico, the economy overall is not growing super fast, but the economy is growing really fast for the bottom. It's stagnating for the very top. The people at the top are not seeing their income grow. There's a compression going on in Mexico where the bottom is being lifted up. So they still have economic growth. It's still positive. They're not like redistributing a smaller and smaller pie. The economy is growing, but it's growing the most for the least. That's why Claudia Sheinbaum has 70% approval rating. And that's what we should do in America. Another reason consultants don't focus on structural factors more often is that they can't sell you any services to solve that problem because there's nothing you could do about them. Well, I mean, there is, but that requires governance, not campaigning. The only thing campaigning can do to change structure is talk about the structure. So in a campaign, you could say, I will do X, Y, and Z about the thing. And it depends on your credibility and whether or not the people believe you. Right? So the most you could do is address the problem and say you'll do something about it. You have to have power to do anything. And then you do shit and the people evaluate whether they think what you're doing is working. And you can fudge all this with more credibility, right? Like things you could say, hey, things haven't been fixed yet, but I am working on it. And if people believe you, then they might think you're still the change agent. If they don't, you're fucked. That's why politicking and governing have to be the same thing. But for the Democrats, they try to separate them because they're frauds, because they love the status quo. They're trying to do marketing for the status quo. That's the Democratic Party. Sorry for getting worked up, but I really want you guys to believe me. I really want you to take this in because I care so much and I know this is true. Like my passion comes from the fact that I know this to be true. And I need more people to agree with me in order to make the world a better place. That's literally what I'm trying to do. More people agree with me, and the more we can operate according to this logic, the closer we're going to get to like actually doing better. All right, Speed Racer, thanks for the 5 gifty. I appreciate all of you. But generally speaking, inflation was high and Harris was going to lose anyway is a much better explanation for 2024 than anything else in isolation. Since we have the track record of this inference and it has been helpful historically, we also will be confident it will continue to be helpful in predicting future elections. A lot of other explanations people are giving about the 2024 don't extrapolate well to future elections. We should align the campaign's interests with its super PACs. What? Duh. Incumbents did poorly everywhere in 2024. There's one place incumbents did not do poorly. There is one place incumbents did not do poorly. You guys know? The answer is Mexico. Morena and Claudia Sheinbaum have kept Mexico's move to the left. That's where they did well. At a time when incumbent parties around the globe are losing to upstart challengers, Mexico's left-wing Morena party stands out as an exception. So they didn't do well everywhere. This is where like the reason why like G. Elliott Morris is not somebody that you could just like take as gospel, even though I think overall his work is higher quality than most other pundits, is because he's ideologically not a left-winger. He is a liberal, right? I'd say he's a left liberal, but he's still a liberal. And so somebody like Mexico, he wouldn't support Morena because he's an imperialist, right? Like, so for him, he's blind about that. He doesn't want to look at Mexico because, unfortunately, this is racism. Mexico is orientalized. Mexico is treated as like the SEPTA filter. So Americans seemingly cannot notice Mexico. So, you know, Americans think they're better than Mexicans. And this is a very widespread sentiment in America. Unfortunately, it's the case. They look down on Mexico, Liberal. It is what it is. As data journalist John Byrne Murdoch commented in the Financial Times, every single governing party of developed democracy that faced voters in 2024 lost its vote share. I guess Mexico isn't developed enough, right? Mexico isn't developed enough. They're just a middle income country, so we're going to ignore Mexico, right? They're not quite rich enough. The Tories were obliterated in the UK. Macron's coalition lost its majority in France. The LDP lost its majority in Japan, and on and on. Incumbents from Portugal to South Korea either lost outright or were badly weakened. What did these countries have in common? Not Kamala Harris's communication strategy, not the Democrats' rural organizing budget, not whether the party had gone too far left on social issues. They had inflation. The post-pandemic price shock hit virtually every developed economy. Voters everywhere punished whoever happened to be holding the gavel when prices went up. Unfortunately, that's not quite the truth. All these also had something else in common: supporting Israel's genocide. All these guys were also super in support of Israel's genocide. Byrne Murdoch said on Twitter X the day after Trump won, "We're going to hear a lot of stories about which people, policies, and rhetoric are to blame for the Democrats' defeat. Some of those stories may even be true, but an underrated factor was an absolutely horrendous year for incumbents around the world." I agree with that. In one country, but that's not true, right? Claudia Sheinbaum, presidential election. Did they gain vote share? Did they gain vote share? Yeah, they went up and they gained seats. They gained seats. They already had 60 seats and they gained 5 in the Senate. She got 61% of the vote. What did AMLO get? He got 54. She increased the vote share. She didn't just win. She went up. She improved the vote share. Their party gained seats. This is the most successful party in the world. Why is this not noticed by G. Elliott Morris? Well, because they're left-wing populists. And so keep your eyes closed. They're left-wing populists that have carried out their left-wing populist program. Now, is it socialism? No. Is it completely destroyed capitalism in Mexico? No. But it is a severe left turn for Mexican policy. And it's been an unalloyed success. And it's not my opinion. That's the opinion of Mexicans. That's why at a period when every other prominent party was losing, they were winning. And notice, she got elected as a woman, too, as a Jewish woman in a Catholic country. Somehow, the Mexicans were woke. 61% of Mexicans are woke, and they loved voting for a Jew lefty. Whereas in America, we're all super racist. Okay, let's keep going. By the way, will anybody ever handle these arguments I'm making? By the way, I've made this argument so many times on Twitter, and I've never, ever heard a centrist respond. They never have. I have gone in people's replies. I've made this on posts. They have never once replied to the Morena argument. It is completely ignored. They try to pretend she does not exist. When incumbents lose across dozens of countries with different parties, different candidates, different media environments, and different campaign tactics, the parsimonious explanation should be the variable they share. 2024, the global post-COVID inflation rate was far beyond what is observed in prior decades. Yes, I agree with this, but it's also the fact that their policies made it worse, right? There's only one country in the world where they were addressing those issues and making people feel like Mexico was in good hands, which is why they were given even more power. Because they actually had policies. Liberal. Most people in DC just don't care about understanding voter psychology. Party autopsies are basically my strategy fallacy in the purest form. Tactical choices look enormous when you stare at them up close, but largely miss the point. From inside a campaign war room, every ad decision, every rally location, every reporter interview feels like it could swing the race. In a truly close election, some of these factors might add up. Okay, so here's my one, listen, the reason why I'm reading this article, even though you see me yelling and arguing and shadowboxing, is because he's right about this point. However, there's something he's missing. When you're an incumbent, your campaign is also policy, and policy can change material reality, right? It is the challenger that cannot change policy. That's why the incumbents have an advantage, because the incumbent can see things that are happening and go, oh, the only way to change this is to change the policy. And so they can change policy to change reality. That's why incumbents have an advantage. The problem is that neoliberals have now become such a conservative movement that they don't like to use policy to change material reality. In fact, they think that that is like pandering or almost corrupt, right? Donald Trump is actually better at this than the Democrats are. Like, Donald Trump sends out those refund checks and he puts his name on it, right? He talks about Donald Trump savings accounts. He's putting his signature on things. He's building buildings and putting his statues in front of them. Now, obviously, his policies are so unpopular because they're oriented toward the rich. So they're only going to make things better for the rich, which is not how you get the majority of people to like you, because the majority of people aren't rich. But actually using policy to make material reality better is the advantage of the incumbent. And that's why Biden lost, because they refused to use their power in coordination with the campaign. Campaigns are talking, governing is doing, and you can coordinate them both. That's why people were so furious at Kamala Harris, because she had the power to change policy and make pronouncements. She didn't do that. The campaign decisions are small factors dominated by a much more influential set of fundamentals that predict roughly where the final result will land, regardless of who's running the campaign. Here's the problem with that argument, which, by the way, he's right about this. But you could also, if Kamala Harris had done been at range, right, or above range, like Bill Clinton was, right? Like if you were actually far out of range, like far better in the range, like Reagan did, like it was possible to get out of that range. Notice how Barack Obama was out of range at or almost above the range in 2008, or like at the very top. If she had been at the very tippy top, she would have beaten Trump. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? Like, you can also see here that Joe Biden was a weak candidate. Actually, the 2020 election, Joe Biden was kind of a weak candidate. Their campaign wasn't very good. Pretty much landed right where the fundamentals are. If anything, Donald Trump's campaign was better than Joe Biden's. Okay, let's keep going. This is like, by the way, are you guys bored of this, or is this like making sense? Is this valuable? You guys got to tell me. I don't know. Like I'm reading the chat, but I'm trying to give you guys like actual analysis that makes sense. Bored? Okay, so I'm getting some boards. I'm getting valuables, but I'm a nerd. A little bored. No, it's super informative. No, LOL, no, so good. This is heroin for me. Bored because it's obvious to me, but yeah, it's good info. I mean, I have said this before. You did the streamer thing. There was like 2 boards. Well, I mean, listen, I am on, like, the thing is, my superpower is not coping. Literally, my superpower is that I am not a coper. I also am not a pessimist, which means I don't cope, but I also don't ruminate. I don't cope and I don't ruminate, which means like that's a super fucking power. I know very few people that are like this. Theo is like one of the few people that is like this that I know. Like I could actually like look at things that are bad and go like, okay, that's bad because that's what I see. And when things are good, I also don't like go over the top like, oh my God, this is so amazing, we're gonna win forever. Like I can maintain like a very even keel as far as like evaluating shit. That is my only superpower, by the way. Why are stonks rising? Because there is a Trump put. Basically, there's an idea that Donald Trump will always bail out the equities markets by printing money and protecting them from any downside. So they are assuming that they're going to be benefiting from any kind of government policy. So it is reasonable and rational to expect it to go higher. And the new Fed chair is an inflation dove. So he's going to return us to easy money. So they think they're going to be, so the easy money is going to result in equities going up. That's my, you know, again, I'm not infallible, but that's my sense, is what we call the Trump put. Meaning like if the stock market starts crashing, Donald Trump is going to intervene to make it go up again, right? Like we don't have a fair market where if it crashes, they'll go, well, that's just the way the free market cookie crumbles, like creative destruction, blah, 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 blah. They'll go, oh my God, pump money into the system immediately, print it, print it, print it. So everybody, because we have the global reserve currency, people are forced to use dollars, at least for the time being anyway. And so everybody's just like, I might as well just buy things up because it's going up. You know, I'm not worried about it going down. That makes sense? Now, the problem with that is it's creating a black swan risk, which is if sentiment ever gets to the point where they don't think Trump can do that anymore, and then there's some bad shock, then look out below because God knows where it's going to end up falling, right? So I think there is an extreme black swan risk right now. And that's my general feeling. I feel like the economy is a bubble and it's continuing to inflate because of those reasons I just explained. But there's extreme black swan risk where it's like the downside is like literally zero, or like not zero, but like Dow 30,000. But maybe I'm just coping. Maybe I am actually coping. There is a chance that I'm coping and this economy is just great. I thought you don't cope. Part of the reason why I say I don't cope is because I'm constantly letting you know when a position of mine is like I have high certainty versus I have low certainty, right? So I try to communicate both ideas and my level of commitment and certainty with the idea. So this is a low certainty idea on my part. Like, I feel like with the markets, you can never really feel like you really know what's going to happen, because, and if you do, you should make a big investment on that position because you have some sort of, if you have high conviction, that's where you should make your bets. You should not make bets on low conviction or vibes. If you want investment advice from me, this is not investment advice, and I'm not your portfolio manager, but if you want like it's not advice. What's the best way to put it? It's more like a philosophy. The best philosophy I've heard of from investors is you should only make investments when you have a lot of conviction and knowledge. And if you don't, the best idea is to just buy index funds and highly diversified market tracking shit. Don't go by somebody else's tips. Don't go by like reading sentiment. Don't make highly risky, derivative bets. Oh, there you go. That's the best advice, or best philosophy, I guess I could say. Check the oil. Basically, they're thinking war is going to end. Oh my God, guys. How many false starts are we going to get on this? There's so many false starts on the oil. Oil prices head to weekly loss as U.S. and Iran signal progress toward deal. What's the Iran signal that they're getting close to a deal? Markets are searching for signs of progress and a potential deal between the U.S. and Iran. While there are signs of optimism, uncertainty reigns. This is not the first time a deal seemed close, only for negotiations to break down. So there's a large segment of the market that will be more skeptical about positive signals we are seeing. Except they're not, because the wider market is on an all-time high. We literally just broke the record on the Dow Jones today. So it's another vibe. And oil was literally 110 like yesterday. Remember when I told you that on the 18th? I said, look, it's back at 110 again. Fake. I literally told you, fake trade. Like, oh, they're going to have a fake deal later this week. Remember that? I literally told you that. How many times has that happened now? 5 times? I'm not saying make trades on what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I predicted this earlier this week. All right, let's go back to what I was saying. Let's finish this article because I really like it. I think it's a video that nobody will watch, but I still feel like someone should make it. Anyway, okay. This article is really thoughtful. Hassad covered it. Would love to hear your perspective. Here's the thing. I'm white. I'm white as hell. And in general, even though I know what I'm talking about organizing cities like Philadelphia more than like every other person on the online space, the fact that I'm a white man gives me no credibility in talking about black issues. It's a reason why I pretty much don't talk about black issues outside of like supporting anti-racist initiatives and try to contain anti-blackness. But I don't talk about black issues because I don't have credibility online. Even if I know more than 90% of the people that talk about shit on Twitch, my credibility is 0. And I'm only going to offend people because, again, I don't have that credibility. I wish I had more credibility, but I don't. It is what it is, you know? That being said, I was a Che Osei super fan, and I feel like I have been proven right. I've been proven right that Che should have run and that we need black socialists like Che. I have been a Summer Lee super fan. I was a Chris Rabshire enjoyer. I have been behind the like socialist black politicians in America since day one, right? And, you know, okay, I'll say one thing. White people like to be told that the reason why DSA doesn't have a lot of black socialists in it is because white people are racist. And I want to tell you something, chat, that is a very convenient thing to sell to white liberals, okay? It is very convenient to de-emphasize the importance of the development of black leadership and put it on white people not acting right, okay? It's a very liberal moralist framework that doesn't actually address the structural impediment towards building a black socialist movement in America. And part of the reason why we don't have a strong black socialist movement in America like we need is because a lot of black socialist leaders were literally killed by the American state. And so that tradition has been severed by violence, okay? Like, and it's not just white nerds not acting right in DSA. Although, obviously, we should always work harder to make these spaces more open and approachable for black people. But it's not white people's problem alone. It's literally the state apparatus of white supremacy, which is different than white socialists not acting right, okay? Although they do need to improve. That we need to put the ball into the court of building socialism around black leaders like Summer Lee and Chris Robb. That's what we need to do. We need to elevate them. We need to put them in front. We need Ilhan Omar in front. We need... that's how we do it, okay? It's not by like white people pointing at each other going, you're a racist. No, you're a racist. No, you're a racist. Like that's a cringe distraction from what we need to be doing, which is, hey, Summer Lee needs to be brought back into DSA. And the reason why Summer Lee's not in DSA, in case you want to know, is because a grifter went into Pittsburgh DSA and said, you're all white. And they made it into a big fucking like self-flagellation lib fest about how they're all white. And it resulted in them chasing out Summer Lee because that became a cult of personality around the person saying that it was because they were all white. They literally chased out the most successful black socialist in Pennsylvania out of DSA because a bunch of white people were a fucking cult of personality around a grifter. Okay. And it was all on the idea that they were all anti-black. And so they were not able to fight off the id poll bullshit. And now I'm not going to say more because again, I'm a white man. I don't have credibility on black issues and I have humility on here. So like what we need to do is bring Summer Lee back. And obviously she's got a lot of trauma from fucking dumbasses like that. And all those people have left DSA, by the way. All those grifters are gone now. Pittsburgh DSA, those people are gone for the Pittsburgh DSA, but they fucking ruined that org, which was one of the most successful and growing orgs. And I try not to get into it too much because again, this is not a place that I have a lot of credibility. It's just, it is what it is. I try to, like, Hassan talks about black people shit way more than me. And, you know, I feel like it is a tripwire and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about because you're not black. Gotta have more humility about black issues. It's a problem with white people is they like, I have humility and then you'll have people like, you know, you can imagine a few white male streamers who are always talking loud about how they are the most anti-racist. That's how you can sniff out a grifter. And oftentimes what do they try to do? They try to use black people as a token to advance themselves as white savior. That's how you know someone's a fucking grifter. You have humility? Yes. I have the most humility of anyone you've ever known. Honestly, I would say I'm the best at humility. That's called a joke, by the way, in case you were neurodivergent and you didn't get it. All right, let's keep going. Most people at DC just don't care. Okay. Most people at DC just don't care about understanding voter psychology. Party autopsies are basically my strategist fallacy of purest form. Tactical choices look enormous when you stare at them up close, but largely miss the point. From inside a campaign war room, every ad decision, every rally location, every reporter interview feels like it could swing the race. In a truly close election, some of those factors might add up. The campaign decisions are small factors dominated by a much more influential set of fundamentals that predict roughly where the final result will land, regardless of who's running the campaign. The autopsies diagnoses, Democrats didn't define Trump, didn't go negative enough, didn't engage male voters, didn't show up in rural areas, didn't invest in digital ads, didn't have a permanent campaign strategy, could also simultaneously true and roughly irrelevant to the 2024 outcome. They might matter at the margins in a future elections where the fundamentals are neutral. They probably didn't matter much in 2024 because the fundamentals weren't neutral. Worse, by attributing the loss to strategic failures, the autopsy invites the party to learn the wrong lessons. If you decide Harris lost because she didn't run enough ads against Trump, spend 2028 running more negative ads. If you decide she lost because the campaign didn't have a clear definition of the candidate, you'll spend 2028 obsessing over the candidate definition. Neither will help if the next Democratic nominee inherits another period of high inflation or low presidential approval. And neither will be necessary if they inherit a recovering economy and a popular incumbent. The deeper problem with the autopsy is that it imagines a voter who doesn't exist. The kind of voter the report's recommendations would persuade. Someone weighing Harris's issue positions against Trump's, watching campaign ads carefully, updating their beliefs and respond to messaging frames, is essentially a Washington consultant, not your grandma, who can't afford to pay her bills because gas is up 50% and electricity subsidies just ended. Exactly! Yes! Exactly! You're so correct! G. Elliott Morris, thank you. You're completely correct. You're right. Yes, exactly. One of the problems is that autopsies, that voter psychology takes a lot of work to understand well, but the people who have that skill set largely aren't the type of person the DNC is hiring to audit their choices. Yes, they hate me. They fucking hate people like me. They hate people like Hassan. They hate people. Like, I was literally, I mean, I could tell stories about the Democratic Party of Pennsylvania, but basically the idea is if you try to tell them things that are against the interest of a donor, they hate you. They don't, the more you prove it, the more they hate. It's not like the Democratic Party does not care about winning. I cannot stress this enough. I cannot stress this enough. They don't care about winning. Start with what we know about the anti-system voter. A large and growing share of the electorate doesn't think in terms of left or right or even Democrat versus Republican. They think in terms of the people running things are screwing me. So throw the bums out. They are not persuaded by an ad explaining that the opportunity economy is a better plan than the Trump economy because their objection to the status quo isn't about specific policies. It's about the status quo in general. A large portion of voters simply cast their ballot against whoever they perceive as being more a part of the system or the establishment. And this could be a decisive block. I call this group the double hater vote. And the reason why this is decisive, and by the way, I want to say this very clearly, this is not forever and always. I'm talking about the current conditions in America. If you went into China and they decided to have a fucking free and fair election in the Western style with multiple party democracy, the most popular party would be the status quo party. It would be the Communist Party of China. The Communist Party of China would win an election in China today. If Xi Jinping ran for president, he would win in China because people are happy with the status quo. They're happy with the way things are improving. They're happy with the way that their lives are getting better. If they did an election in China, the Communist Party would win. Like, that's just true. And this is not really disputed. How would you know that? The evidence is overwhelming. China, Communist Party, popular, Harvard. Understanding CCP resilience, surveying Chinese public opinion through time. This is from the, you can read this. This is from the Harvard Kennedy School. They specifically talk about this. They like, the Chinese people like China. We find that since the start of the survey in 2003, Chinese citizen satisfaction with the government has increased virtually across the board. From the impact of broad national policies to the conduct of local town officials, Chinese citizens rate the government as more capable and effective than ever before. Again, not my opinion, the opinion of Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Is that a good enough evidence for you? Or does that not reach your level? Just let me know. Is that good enough? Is that good enough evidence? Is that fair third-party evidence? Is that good enough? You tell me. You mean if you use the government to improve citizens' lives, they like you? Yes. Where are the statistics? It's down here somewhere. It's in there. Okay, here we go. Recent trends in citizen satisfaction. The most striking feature of our survey's data since 2003 is the near universal increase in Chinese citizens' average satisfaction toward all 4 levels of government. To gauge satisfaction, respondents were asked to evaluate government performance as a scale of 1 to 4, 1 indicating very dissatisfied and 4 indicating very satisfied. In all iterations of the survey, by the way, 4 in China is the number for death. So this was a very subtle and creepy way that they were using Chinese like culture against the government to try to be a little bit more propagandized. If to give a 4 is like very bad luck. So they were doing that intentionally, just so you know. Anyway, in all iterations of the survey, satisfaction declines as the government gets closer to the people, with local, county, and township government consistently generating lower satisfaction from citizens than the central provisional governments. This hierarchical satisfaction is particularly noteworthy because it is the opposite of what researchers observe in the United States and many other democracies, where local political leaders tend to be far more popular than state or federal leaders. Nevertheless, recent increases in public approval have begun to narrow this hierarchical dissatisfaction gap in China. Even in 2003, the central government received a strong level of satisfaction, with 86.1% expressing approval and 8.9% disapproving. This high level of satisfaction increased even further by 2016, with such increases were minimal because public satisfaction was already high to begin with. By contrast, in 2003, township-level governments had quite negative satisfaction rates, with 44% expressing approval and 52% disapproving. However, by 2016, those numbers had flipped, with 70% approving and only 26% disapproving. These increases in satisfaction are not just limited to overall assessments of government performance. When asked about the specific conduct and attributes of local government officials, increasing numbers of citizens view them as kind, knowledgeable, and effective. Again, this is Harvard studying China's government. So China's government has an absolutely unbelievably high approval rating among Chinese people. So it's not just you looking at the new cities and going, wow, that looks great. Chinese people think communist governance is good. Beginning in 2004, the survey asked respondents' personal interactions with local government officials and their impression of those interactions. In each survey, roughly 50% of the sample reported interactions with government officials during the previous 12 months. However, while the interaction rate stayed relatively constant, citizen impressions of government response did not. The percentage who claimed that their situation was not resolved at all shrunk from 28% to just 7.6% in 2016. By contrast, the percentage who claimed that their situation was completely resolved rose from 19.3% in 2004 to 55.9% in 2016. 55.9% of people said, I talked to a government official and my problem was completely resolved. Think about your own life. Notably, in 2004, the rate of citizens who were satisfied with the eventual outcome of their interactions was less than half the rate of those that were dissatisfied. While in 2016, the rate of satisfaction was more than triple the rate of dissatisfaction. Although it is clear that overall satisfaction with government performance increased significantly between 2003 and 2016, it is less obvious why these trends have occurred, whether or not they are sustainable. Current Chinese GDP per capita is 60 times greater than it was before the period of reform and opening up in 1978. They 60x'd their economy. 40 years of rapid growth have helped to improve living standards and lift more than 800 million Chinese out of poverty. By the early 2000s, trends created... by the way, I'm sorry for reading this. We can read this more, but somebody asked me a question, so I like to give you guys, like... I don't like to have opinions that are bullshit. Okay, like I like to actually look at the best available evidence for my positions, right? If my position is total bullshit, I don't like to have that position because it's embarrassing to me to be an idiot. So I try to look at the best available information to have an opinion. Okay, so this is why I believe the Communist Party is popular in China and they think it's very effective. All right, moving on. This is why the hidden axis of American politics, the well-being-oriented, non-ideological dimension that runs orthogonal to traditional ideology, keeps catching strategists off guard. Most Washington-based political professionals were trained to think about voters along a left-right spectrum and design messages to move voters along it. But a huge fraction of the electorate is non-ideological. 80% of people are non-ideological. That's why AOC is important. This is what I need you guys to understand. AOC is important because people like her and she's ideologically left. So I like her because she's ideologically left and other people like her. And I am using their like of her to push my ideologue positions. Do you understand? And my positions alone are not popular enough or motivating enough to win power in our country. So the fact that more people like her makes my position more popular than it otherwise would be in a completely neutral environment. Now, I think my positions are popular as fuck. I think people would like those policies if you ask them. But that's different than actually getting that accomplished in reality. Does every leftist streamer periodically yell, do you understand? I'm trying to encourage dialogue. So if you disagree with me, I want you to dialogue with me so I could see why, why you disagree, right? So, maybe my personal, do you understand, our, thing is off-putting to you, but I'm wanting to engage in a Socratic exchange if you don't, so we could refine our thinking to a higher level. Are you used to watching stupid bullshit? Are you used to watching like didactic lectures that just tell you what to believe and give you conclusions based on nothing? Is that what you prefer? No, it's all good. It's just a local tick. I'm a longtime socialist. Red diaper baby. I'm new to watching lefties. Sorry about that. It's cool. Welcome in. This is the Central Committee. I'm trying to talk about politics for people that have ideological positions but don't understand why they're not happening in the world, right? And I'm trying for being so aggro. I want to fight people because the world sucks, okay? Like, I want to fight the people that I'm like, liberals, come in here, challenge me, liberals, make your points. I want to hear the points because, again, they can't, which is why their strategy is mostly deplatforming, right? Like, they know they can't engage with the facts. Like, do you think that how do you think Americans would react to understanding that the Chinese government is extremely popular because it caused the economy to grow 60 times? How many Americans do you think know that fact? Like, think about that. Like, that is just, and by the way, American policymakers know that. The thing is, the blob knows it, but they know it's a bad fact, so they hide it. They try to create the idea that the Chinese government is so oppressive and like people are rising. They want to speak out. You hate your politicians. They hate their politicians too. That's an assumption that you make. That's not the case. And they, it's so they can push their agenda of containing China and preventing it from becoming more powerful in the world. You got to say okay, like Dr. Zhang. That was so true. They have alternative facts. Well, yeah, they demonize China as much as they can. And that's why they hate my ass. Holy shit, do they hate my ass. If I was a liberal, if I had this, if I was Atrioc, I'd be sitting next to Gavin Newsom right now. I'd be dabbing up Obama right now with my size stream, but Gavin Newsom runs away from me. I'm literally banned by Gavin. Like, Gavin Newsom didn't want to talk to me or Hassan. He ran away from us at TwitchCon. So he could talk to a streamer friend of mine by the name of, God, who is it? Who was it? He went and talked to, there's this really cool streamer. Who was it? Fuck, I'm drawing a blank about who exactly it was. What is their Twitch handle? I can't remember their Twitch handle. Why am I blanking? I don't think of people as their Twitch handles in real life. Fuck. The Tune. Oh my God, why did I forget? Jesus Christ. The Tune is a really cool progressive Twitch streamer who does like fun paranormal shit. That's his main content. And he wanted to talk to the Tune. Now, the Tune is a very successful streamer, really cool guy, awesome, progressive, but it's like he's much smaller. Like, I mean, he's not much smaller, but he's smaller than me. Like, it's not like I'm trying to flex. It's that like the Tune is like really fucking cool. Good progressive guy. It's just not, politics is not his main content. And they wanted to talk to somebody like that so they could snow his ass. Like, ignoring chat as per usual. Oh, did you guys say Tune? Oh, Casey Tron said Tune. Yeah. Thank you, Casey. How you doing? It's fucking crazy. And by the way, Casey Tron could back me up on this. I hope the Tune's not mad at me for leaking this, but oh well. Like, literally. Because, like, it's fucking crazy. Yes, I was there. Exactly. And it's like, why would Gavin Newsom run away from the largest political content creators who are on the left? Because he's ideologically dedicated to pushing the country to the right. It is what it is. Is he a politics guy? No, he is a spooky content guy, but he's of course progressive. It's the same thing with like, there's a lot of people that are left wingers that don't make their content about being left wingers. Like Emmy Rome is another example. That's another crazy left winger who doesn't make her content about being a crazy left winger, right? Like Will is another one, like Vanilla Mace. It's like there's plenty of people that don't make their content that are crazy left wingers who are not making it their politics about being a crazy left winger. Woke Wilder's a little bit more political. Emmy Rome, who's cool as hell. Have you seen this dude?
中国人吗？啊，中国人吗？请问你在美国房租多少钱？100美金。就我是参加博主，就能不能去你家看一下？现在这你送完了，我们你是每天几点开始卖？每天下午3点送的面，每天送。这边的无家可归者。但你一天要做几张啊？10张吧，大概200-300份。他是女员工吗？不是，他志愿者，他在这帮你忙。Hello, tomorrow 会有城管来，你才有查单。That tastes good. Water. 水和吃都免费送，因为我本。
This country is such a fucking shame, dude. It's so embarrassing. Humiliating that this is our country. These people are in such fucking dire straits and our country does not care, and it's fucking disgusting.
Maybe 礼拜一 next Monday 有人考，好来吃，这就结束了今天。结束了。怎么称呼你哥们？中文名字叫小唐，名字叫小唐。你来美国多久了？我来美国你现在摆摊卖多久？我现在是送是卖，整个是。你本人是哪人？你爸妈是做什么的？对，像段子。我爸是在我们，我妈是在原生家庭条件一般。外婆。你多久见一次你爸妈？1年能见到1次。但你在南充待到什么时候？练完高一辍学，16、17岁的时候。你去的哪？12、13年。当时做什么？厂污水线，见我死。那时候多少钱1个小时？很低啊，1000左右了，还是想闷死。在夜市学的酱香，回老家做了2-3个月倒闭了。来美，你小时候想过这辆车在这买了多少钱？但像你刚刚跟我说你房子1000多，陋室比较乱，比较小，要看一下。 有狗，你自己的狗还是谁的狗？房东，这里是跟房东合租的。这里的东西是我太多了嘛，1楼有厕所，这些都是公共区域，我会比较方便。
Oh, he rents a room?
是你会跟他们共用吗？你平常做菜吗？在家？你偶尔去。
I mean, it's just like, didn't know Xiaobing could be popular in Los Angeles Skid Row? Yeah, Skid Row, man. Jesus fucking Christ. All right, anyway, let's get back. Or I swear to God, we're going to finish this article. I swear. Okay. Most Washington-based political professionals were trained to think about voters along a single left-right spectrum and design messages to move voters along it, but a huge fraction of the electorate is non-ideological. They hold a mix of progressive and conservative views that are basically uncorrelated with one another. And they choose candidates based on cues that have little to do with the policy debates that animate party staff. They want to change. They want confidence. They want leaders to fight for them. They do not want to hear about left-right identity politics if the price of a gallon of milk is $6. And then there is low information voter who decided in 2024 more than any other group. The voters who broke hardest for Trump in 2024 were the ones who paid the least attention to politics. These were the voters who, at our surveys, cannot name the party in control of Congress, don't follow the news regularly, if at all, and make decisions mostly based on vibes and what their social groups are saying. The DNC autopsy spends pages on messaging strategy aimed at engaged voters and almost no time on people who actually moved. Because they don't care! They don't care about this. This is about winning power and doing things. They don't care about this. This is what strategists miss when they treat campaign choices as the dominant drivers of voter choice. But when you can't target your way out of an inflation problem, you can't define your opponent if your opponent's main appeal is that he's not the person currently in charge while gas is $5 a gallon. And you certainly can't run a 170-day campaign aimed at low information voters and expect them to suddenly start paying attention to your 6-point plan on housing. Whether you define your opponent early has no bearing on the dominant force in our politics. One thing the party could have controlled, a real primary, which I was in favor of up until the very last second when it was like, well, we'll do an open convention. I wanted anything. There's one thing the party could have controlled that the autopsy entirely sidesteps, the decision to stick with Biden and not have a primary in 2023, 2024. Biden's approval rating had been underwater for nearly 3 years by the time he dropped out. The forecasting models were warning early that Biden's odds of winning November were perilous and trending lower. As we have seen, based on the fundamentals, he may have been even worse. By letting the party nominate Biden without a primary or convention, party bosses closed themselves off to the path to November that ended in a victory. The party had years, not weeks, to coordinate a graceful handoff to a successor who could have built a real campaign around economic reform, distanced himself from the Biden era, and had a fair shot at competing against an incredibly flawed opponent. The autopsy mentioned the truncated timeline for Harris' campaign in passing, but does not engage with the actual decision-making chain that produced the truncated timeline at all. Again, I was saying in November of 2023, oh my God, like literally, like this article is just saying Mike was right over and over and over again. This was just saying Mike was right over and over and over again. Tulsi Gabbard resigned. They must be invading Iran soon. Like all this article is saying is Mike's ideas are correct, which is incredible. Like I said, double hater. As a double hater, here's what I said on November 5th, 2023. As a double hater, I have a suggestion. He should drop out. He should be supported by a candidate who will oppose Israel's genocide, support actual court reform to unpack the Supreme Court, and will actually promise real policy outcomes that young people demand. Good luck. Again, people who think war casualties numbered in the thousands is genocide are hyperbole addicts who have useless opinions. By the way, this guy was replying to me to deny the genocide. So at the time, at the moment when these decisions were being made, I was there. I was there and I was saying, hey, we need to have Joe Biden drop out of the fucking race, man. Like, let's fucking, it's very clear. It's very clear. So why wasn't that on the table? Why was not plausible? I don't know where the article went. Okay, here it is. Let me put it all the way to the side. That omission tells us a lot about the Democratic Party as an institution, about who has power, who exercises it, and who is ultimately not being held accountable for 2024. Exactly. They don't care about winning. You guys understand that? The problem with the Democratic Party is there is no structural way to solve the agency problem. The fundamental crisis with the Democratic Party is there is no way to line up the interests of the agents of the Democratic Party with Democratic Party electoral victory. They are disaligned. The agents of the Democratic Party are actually incentivized to have either fall out of power or to keep power close. They're not incentivized to like, hey, I get a bonus for every law that gets passed from the platform, right? Like there's no like way to like create a structure where people are actually incentivized for accomplishing the policies that the people who make up the Democratic Party want. I already talked about that yesterday, Shmoolander. The answer is they're ideologically innocent. They don't know what to the center means. Most people are self-centered, so they think they're the center of the universe. When you say move to the center, most people think they mean move toward what I think. They think their beliefs are common sense. Everyone believes that they are in the center, that they are the, well, I mean, not everyone, but the non-ideological person believes that their takes are the normal takes. They believe that they are the most normal person, which is why you oftentimes talk to a Republican, they'll say, most people are secretly racist. That's because they're secretly racist. They're just telling on themselves. Come on, Mike. You were also saying that when they ran Biden in 2020. LL, you're like the boy who cried wolf because there was literally a wolf lurking in the tree line and the blind-ass townsfolk called you Selly. I mean, I thought that Donald Trump might lose. I thought Joe Biden would lose to Trump, but then the COVID-19 pandemic came. And the COVID-19 pandemic pretty much won the race for Joe Biden because Donald Trump looked like a fucking moron. So Donald Trump would have beaten Biden. He would have beaten Biden, but for the COVID-19 pandemic. That saved the Democrats, but they couldn't recognize that, and they thought it was being centrist. You could argue that even a hypothetical Democratic nominee, only 20% of people know what ideology is. And I'm including all Republicans as well. Like if you took 100 people in a room, only 20 of them have anywhere near to close to a coherent ideology. And half of those people are going to be Republican or right-wingers. So in a room of 100 people, 10 people have any ideology at all that could be considered left of center. Most people have no idea what the fuck they're talking about in politics. And like, again, that is a crisis. That's why vanguardism is correct, because you need to have a class of people that are in the informed, advanced aspect of the class actually organizing shit. Okay, like, I'm sorry. That's why vanguardist left-wing movements are the only ones that ever have won in history, because they recognize that structural gap between consciousness and action. And people will take action without consciousness. And so if you have a framework, a party framework of elite vanguardists, and you can, I'm sorry if you call this elitist or whatever, I don't give a shit. They can take the energy and channel it towards organization and long-term sustained effort towards a goal. That's what leadership is. If you just go by sentiment, like the anarchists want you to do, it burns itself out. Anyway, keeping on, again, this is just a hardcore ideological disagreement, which I do not countenance any disagreement with. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. You're wrong. It's all right. You're allowed to disagree with me on this, so you're wrong. By the way, PSL. Okay, the problem with PSL is that they're right about the question that's the least relevant right now, right? Which is democratic centralism. But the problem with that is democratic centralism for a bad idea is a bad idea, right? Democratic centralism is good for a good idea. I'm almost begging the question, but let me put it to you this way. All of us agreeing to jump off the cliff is worse than us having an anarchic organization where the people that jump off the cliff on their own, and those of us who don't. You see what I mean? Massive oil crash dip. Wait, oil, what happened? Oil is up for the day, but then it dipped, it came back. It's just a bad trade. That's just some sort of like, broker error. Somebody got fucked by a broker. Sorry about that. That's not relevant. Somebody got fucked by a broker. They sold their oil for too cheap. Whoopsie doopsie daisy. That's why you don't sell your oil all at once on a shitty broker with no volume. And then you could see what happened. Do you see how the volume goes from 500 and see how the volume goes to like 389, and then all of a sudden there's 215,000 barrels of oil because all the fucking like algorithms triggered because the price went too low, and all the algorithms instantly bought it all. Someone actually accidentally dumped. Anyway, what was I saying? Let's move on. Back to the article. We're going to finish this thing. You can argue that even a hypothetical Democratic nominee who entered the race in 2023 would have lost given the fundamentals. I think that's probably true. But we would have lost by less, and the party would be at the high crisis of legitimacy, is a meaningful counterfactual. And it's a one piece of self-criticism the institution most needed to do. I might argue that the soul searching about 2024, the notion of an autopsy in general, to explain a 1.5 defeat is all a bit dramatic anyway, but your mileage may vary. I don't think so, because the reason why I disagree with you on this, Elliot, and I mean these disagreements are all respectful, because I actually think that this article is one of the smartest pieces of analysis that I've ever seen come from these kind of people. And so I don't want to be like an asshole by going like, oh, I'm so much more right than this guy and rip him apart. because I actually want to encourage people that are not pieces of shit, garbage at their jobs. I just want you to understand that the reason why this matters is because Donald Trump is a fucking disaster for the world. So losing to him is like losing to Hitler, right? If you lose to Hitler by 0.1%, that you should be gnashing your teeth, okay? Like, it is a big deal to lose to Donald Trump, okay? He's a fucking moron. If you're the type of person who buys into the autopsy strategist brain theories of political outcomes, then you're going to dramatically misread the moment in 2016 and 2028. If Democrats lost in 2022 and 2024 because economic conditions were bad and they were in charge, they should expect to win in 2026 and 2028 if conditions are bad. That's because they are the out party now. But if you buy the explanation for 2024 presented in the DNC autopsy and ignore the structural factors at play, you are less likely to see this as the dominant messaging strategy for your campaign. Consider that Trump's approval is already underwater, enough to give Democrats the House and maybe the Senate and the presidency in 2028. That's why we need AOC. The reason why we need to go with AOC is because she has the most left-wing program, and we're left-wing ideologues. And any Democrat is likely to win. So what kind of Democrat do we want to win? The type of Democrat we want to win is the most left-wing possible Democrat, and that's AOC. And AOC is not going to do fucking socialism overnight, but she might do something. She might do some things that we like, which will make our world better. Presumably, reigning in Israel. And maybe she won't do everything we want from an anti-Zionist perspective. Like, maybe she won't invade Israel. But she certainly might cut the weapons off. She might rein them in the United Nations. She might sign the United States to a bunch of treaties that binds its power. She might withdraw some troops from certain theaters. She might X, Y, and Z good things, lift sanctions on Cuba. She might do all those good, nice things throughout the world. And yes, they're going to be less than I want. Yes, I'm going to be saying do more the entire time. But the point is, she will be actually pushing for left-wing things, the most left-wing things that are available. Sort of like how Zohran is doing that in New York. Now, could he do more? Yes. Do I want him to do more? Yes. If you want Zohran Mamdani to be more left-wing, you know how you make Zohran Mamdani more left-wing? Elect a bunch more left-wing politicians in New York. Elect a bunch of Shea Oseys who are pushing him left. Primary fucking all the Zionists out of office. And so it's not just Zohran up there. It's like 10 people up there. If you want to have Zohran be more left-wing, he needs backup. It's not that complicated. Consumer sentiment and by the way, the backup will make him more left-wing because he'll be forced to be more left-wing. If he wants to be noticed, he needs to stand out. And so if a bunch of people are more left-wing than him and they're popular, then he's going to move left-wing. That's the same thing with AOC. AOC moved to the left because of Zohran. Like, we literally saw it happening. AOC is like more comfortable with DSA shit because Zohran won. So she could be like, oh, I personally think, and this is my own analysis, you could disagree with me. I think AOC's hiding her power level. I think AOC was battered and beaten up for 8 fucking years. And so she feels like I'm to the left of the country. That's what I think she believes. She thinks she's out of touch, too far left. She actually agrees with that because of how much she's been battered and how little people like her have actually won. She saw Jamal Bowman get out. She saw Cori Bush get knocked out. So she saw Nita Turner lose, right? So she saw Bernie Sanders lose. So she was like, in her mind, well, maybe my positions aren't as popular as I thought. But now we have a new time now we have a moment. We have this moment. It'll never get better than now to do electoralism. Never than right now. Now is the time, like literally right now. Like, I got to tell you, in my life, it's never been better than now to be a left winger. Never. Why do you think I'm helping Claire? Why do you think I'm helping Chris of the Rapture? Chris Rabb? Why do you think I'm helping Claire Valdez and Oliver Larkin and Francesca Hong and all sorts of these flyer candidates that would never have a chance in a million years but are now winning? I'm doing it because we have that chance, and we're going to do a lot more than that. I want Sykot to win. I have now been convinced that Sykot is probably the most important race. Not because he's the most left wing, but because he's the most interested in mixing up the Democratic Party. Sykot is actually interested in mixing up the Democratic Party. I have now been convinced. Like, I didn't think he was that exciting until I'm starting to look more into the way he moves, and like he's moving in the way we want, which is a Democratic Tea Party. As a 50-year-old, I agree it's never been a better time to be a lefty. Exactly. It has never been. Zohran directly screwed over a left-wing candidate before he had a chance to start. He was wrong about that. One of the best things that you could do as a political analyst is to say to yourself, I actually could disagree with someone and I know they're wrong and I can move on that. I could say they're wrong. I can mark it down, but I can move on. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. You know, like if you're watching Star Trek or like a show about a naval ship and the first officer and the captain are arguing, like Jean-Luc Picard is arguing with what's his fucking name? Why am I drawing? I'm having name finding problems today. I think I need to get my brain scanned. Riker, Jesus Christ. Anyway, Riker is arguing with Jean-Luc Picard, and then Jean-Luc Picard goes, oh, we're doing this. At a certain point, you have to be able to go like, all right, I lodge my objections. Let's fucking move on, right? And a lot of the time, it turns out that Riker might have been right. But fundamentally, he kind of gets that to have the ship operate, you just have to move on after a while. Like, you have to go like, okay, I was right about that. And in the future, you could say to the captain, hey, I was right about this thing. You should listen to my judgment. Like, that's evidence that my judgment is actually good. And you should weigh it more highly. Let's move on to the next thing. Right? You don't have to be like, oh my God, you disagreed, and become a fucking antisocial freak obsessed with this one point for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like, move the fuck on. Like, we can have disagreements. And if I hated everybody that didn't listen to my advice when I was correct, I would literally hate everyone. Have you seen the crimes against the flotilla activists? Yeah, we talked about that a couple days ago. We're going to talk about that more. These people are fucking evil. The Israeli state must be completely charged with crimes against humanity that they have committed. Consumer sentiment after a brief post-election bump has cratered as tariffs have inflated goods and the war against Iran has caused gas prices to spike. If the trends we've seen in general and special elections hold, we're looking at a substantial Republican defeat in the midterms and a favorable environment in 2028. But here's the catch. Those same fundamentals will create positive conditions for Democrat wins. We'll also start working against them the moment they take power. Anti-incumbency in the post-pandemic era has been unusually durable. Voters across the developed world have been throwing out whoever's in charge, regardless of ideology, for 5 years now. If Democrats win the House in 2026 and the White House in 2028 on the back of Trump's economic mismanagement, they will inherit the same trap that swallowed Harris, a public that is structurally pissed off about the cost of living and willing to punish whoever happens to be in charge when the next election rolls around. Mike, have you seen the massive turnout numbers? This has to be voter fraud, right? Thing about election fraud is you need to have evidence. And the thing is, this was a nationalized race. And they spent $50 million juicing the turnout. And it was a major national story. So the turnout is going to be a lot higher than the normal race, right? It's not a normal race, okay? Like, you can't just look at the turnout and compare it to the old turnout and say, oh my God, this is obviously fraud. That's not evidence. They saw a super high turnout for the Zohran race. Is that fraud that Zohran won? There was much higher turnout than before. It's the highest turnout since 1960. Does that mean Zohran was a fraud? No, it was an extremely popular nationalized race that everybody cared about. They turned out a bunch of new people because of that factor. You need actual proof. Was it double? I think it might have been. Turnout went up 20%. So it went up 100%. So it was 43.47% turnout, which was up 20 percentage points from the prior one. Like Zohran Mamdani got 1.1 million votes and Andrew Cuomo got 900,000. Zohran won every borough but Staten Island, which Cuomo won. I don't think there was fraud. I think they just had a very turned out. Like, look at this, chat. 1 million people voted in the 2021 election and 2 million plus voted in the 2025 election. Like, that's just what happened. It was a nationalized race. Is that enough? Is that enough that it's possible for it to happen without it being fraud? Do you believe me now? What is up with that island? I'm not American. Staten Island is an island in New York City that's basically zoned to be like suburbia. So it's not, but it's in New York City. And it has suburban white politics. It's literally where all the reactionaries go in New York City. I think you should upzone Staten Island, personally. AIPAC spent all that money to make sure more and more people came out to vote against. It was record high for the primary. More people saw ads. It's literally the entire reason for campaign spending. It's not fraud. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't no way there's fraud. If there's anybody who would do fraud in an American election, it's AIPAC and Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Like, I am not rejecting the idea that they did fraud. I don't think that's an insane idea. I would investigate it. If you could give me any proof, I would investigate it. But just saying, oh, the numbers and the numbers went up, that's not proof. Like, the thing about me is I am not a coper. You know, as I said earlier, I'm not a coper, right? but I'm also not closed off to facts. Like, I am mature. I'm a numbers guy. I grokked it, you know? Anyway, okay. If Democrats win the House in 2026, the White House in 2028, on the back of Trump's economic mismanagement, they will inherit the same trap that swallowed Harris, a public that is structurally pissed off about the cost of living and willing to punish whoever happens to be in charge when the next election rolls around. We should not expect economic anxiety to simply fall away. 88% of potential Democratic supporters say the American economic system is unfair to most Americans, and 83% say the political and economic system needs major change or to be torn down completely. Only 1% want no changes at all. Holy shit! This is why I wanted you to see this, right? There's never been a better time to be a left-winger, and we should support our left-wing politicians. And yes, we should criticize them. Yes, we should push them to be even more left-wing. We should do everything in our power to push them. Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. But if we want to achieve any kind of change, we have to have the positions. Like, you understand that, right? We have to control the levers of state. We have to be in charge. And to be in charge, we have to win these elections with certain people. I know this seems very simple, but I kind of feel like people don't get that, right? Like, if you want your changes to happen, you have to have people in office that will do those things, right? Like, we also need to clean house at the DNC. If you want to clean house at the DNC, you need to have somebody who hates the DNC win the Democratic nomination and the presidency, because only a president would have enough power to clean out the DNC. We're never going to clean out the DNC from the bottom up. The only way we're going to clean out the DNC is from the top down. I know that a lot of people don't like this, but unfortunately, we have the ability to beat them from the bottom up. It's called supporting the person for president and winning by voting for them. That's our power. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me and they're going to say Mike's going lib or whatever. No, this is just how the structures work. That's just how they work. It's our only move right now. Like, what do you want me to say? You want me to invent Magic Christmas Land? Then I'll do Magic Christmas Land. And if there was an alternative, I 100% am behind it. I am like, if you think that I'm like a Democratic Party shill, that's very funny. All right, let's finish this article and then we'll talk about Tulsi Gabbard. The only way to escape the gravity of anti-incumbent sentiment is to do something big enough that voters actually feel it or signal that you're trying. You don't need a 12-point plan and rattle off macroeconomic indicators for the Oval Office. The next great Democratic candidate will need something on the scale of the New Deal or the Great Society, a generational project that reorders the relationship between the American economy and the American worker, and that voters can point to say, my life is better because of this party. Exactly. That's why the Mexican example is so important. I want to reach out to him. I wonder if he hates my guts because I don't like Kamala Harris. I'm going to reach out to I'm going to try. Democrats need a I kind of like this guy a lot better than Edgar Mentum. I think he's way smarter than Edgar Mentum. Like, if you were to say, Mike, who's an alternative that actually, the funny thing is, like, his takes are better than Edgar Mentum's takes. And he's smarter and he's actually qualified. Even though he's to my right. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy that Edgar Mentum is worse than this guy in every way. Democrats need a president who, in 2029, like Zohran Mamdani in New York City, says the cost of housing, healthcare, childcare, and energy is the central political question of our time, and who proposes to do something on the scale of the problem. There are a lot of options on the table for a party that wants to go big. Build millions of new homes, cap the price of insulin, and expand negotiation to every essential drugs. Subsidize childcare or make it a public good. Build out clean energy infrastructure fast enough to combat rising costs from AI infrastructure and climate change. Tax the people who have captured most of the economic gains over the past 20 years and use the money to fund the policies ordinary people actually buy. Pick fights with the industries that profit from scarcity and dysfunction and win them. This is, of course, will be hard. Defying gravity always is. It requires governing the way Roosevelt and Johnson governed, with the assumption that bold action creates its own political coalition. Also, it requires that you look back on your failures with a holistic view of what causes outcomes. I have not seen anything close to this from the party, from the think tanks, or from the leading contenders. There are gestures towards the abundance agenda, populism, and radical centrism, but these mostly read like positioning exercises, not serious agendas for people that are really hurting. The 2004 autopsy was a chance to start that conversation by being honest about why Harris lost. It failed to do that. This matters because the fundamentals giveth and the fundamentalist taketh away. Democratic win in 2028, built on a Trump backlash without generational economic vision behind it, is a Democratic loss in 2032 waiting to happen. The only durable answer to anti-incumbent sentiment is actually to earn re-election. Party has roughly 2.5 years to decide whether it wants to think big, and that creatively. I would have liked to see the DNC autopsy with more data, research, and more attention to the real hard work on voter psychology, economic anxiety, and the path forward. 2024 autopsy was the party's chance to confront the thing it actually got wrong. Harris lost because prices were high, Biden was unpopular, and voters across the world were in a mood to punish whoever was in charge. It is surprising to read 100 pages about messaging, discipline, and rural organizing and still miss that fundamental fact. And yet, Democrats are about to be handed a win in 2026, 2028 by voters who are angry at the party currently in power. I just joined. Can you give me your take on Francesca Hong? I'm in Wisconsin, so I'd like to hear your take. She announced her campaign on the stream, and I've raised her $20,000 plus. If they mistake that for vindication of a new strategy and fiddles around the margins, instead of the same structural anti-incumbency that buried Harris, they will spend the 2030s out of power and wishing they had thought bigger while the time was still on their side. God damn, this is a good post. Holy shit. This is a good post. I'm actually going to save this, and I'm going to write a comment, and I'm going to create a Substack account just to try to start making a relationship with this guy, because I think that he is literally the only person who is actually not totally incompetent in the election analysis space that has any following at all. And I need an alternative to Ed Germentum, because G. Elliott Morris is 1,000 times smarter, even though he's more right wing, supposedly. I rarely make endorsements this strong, but no lie, like this is article is very intelligent and is like 90% of the way there to where I am. And the place that he's missing is that there is an answer. Like, the answer to this is Morena. Like, Claudia Sheinbaum, the populist left, they did what he said in Mexico and it worked. It's not just an idea he's making up. It's tested and proven. All right, chat, that is my thought on the autopsy and what we should be going forward. Like, I feel like yesterday my autopsy explanation sucked dick. And this is like, I finally found an article that I could ping off of. You know what I mean? And I honest to God believe, and I have believed for a long time, that AOC is the only candidate. And if you are anti-AOC, you are missing the forest for the trees. Anyway, chat, we are 4 hours into the stream. If you enjoyed the content today, please consider supporting it by subscribing. At tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 sub, if you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. You get 1 free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. You could also support the stream by gifting subs. There's a lot of people here working paycheck to paycheck, parents of young children, college students, people on a fixed income because of retirement or disability, or just regular people struggling to make ends meet. If you guys like this content, please support it, because it's the only way it's going to exist. I rely 100% on user support from people like you. My only wish is that he talked about Gaza specifically, the polling on it. Yes, there are two things that, yeah, exactly. That was a miss. I mean, obviously it was Gaza too. Obviously it was Gaza too. Oil now, you cunts. Yeah, Ham and Fist. Thank you so much for the 20 gifted subs. I appreciate it. All right. Anyway, and Yagobnik, thank you so much, brother. You don't have to do that. I really, really want people to understand that the global order is at a hinge point. And I think a lot of people look at American politics and they think it's completely irrelevant because nothing seems to change. And they don't know American history that well. Or they have a kind of pop understanding of the New Deal where they think, oh, the New Deal was racist and the Scott didn't really do that much, because they don't really know what the fuck they're talking about. And you know, it is what it is. Like, I'm not saying the New Deal wasn't racist. Of course it was. It was made in the 30s. Like, what the fuck are you even saying? But that's not, I think people really underestimate the scale of the change. And if you look at this poll from Americans, 88% of Americans think the economic system is unfair. And 20% of Americans want to tear down the system completely, and 63% want major changes. The American people are primed for something new. And if we do get it, we can change the world, man. Like, this is the global empire. And we have a chance to grab hold of the wheel. So, Posh Kenneth, Nucleon, Soviet Cranberry, Yagopnik Twitch, Ham and Fist, thank you guys so much. I don't know if you guys saw, but I won Monopoly yesterday. And I won Monopoly. I don't know if anybody made any clips. I would love to show them. I won Monopoly because there was a moment in the game when I won. A moment in the game when I won is when Swifter said, "Wow, you're really going for it." I spent all my money developing the light purple properties. And Swifter called it out. And that was the decision. That was the hinge point. Now, obviously, my victory required luck, like somebody landing on it at the right time. But that was the decision that won the game. Is there a VOD of the Monopoly game? Yes. Somebody go find that clip because it's very important. And that is the hinge point we're in right now. Mike is so proud of winning that game. Of course I am, because I said I was going to, and then I did. And Monopoly is mostly luck. Is it luck or probabilities? Well, I mean, I understood the probabilities, but there was still variance, right? And I had VO rolling. I did not roll a single time. I did not roll a single time because I knew that if I touched the dice even one time, I was fucked. So you cheated. No, it was a joint game. We were a team. So VO won. Correct. The blessed hands of VO. Mike cheated. He was using an auto clicker. I don't think that matters, does it? DJ, thank you so much for the 5 more. Do you not work for Meta? Did you get fired? No. Oil this white boy now. Thank you. There's a lot of you motherfuckers who are work from home, tech bro, pieces of shit, IT guys. They're not firing the IT guys who do approximately 2 hours of work a week. Don't put cot. Put a 5 bomb. And the reason why you're not going to get fired is because nobody in the fucking company knows how any of the systems work. So they let you sit on your fat ass and do nothing because if something does go wrong, and it goes wrong just enough that they need you. Just when they think, we don't need that lazy IT guy, something breaks and they all panic and then you come to the rescue. They knocked him. Oh, we've got Apusa. Beijing meat pies. Beijing meat pies. I need to put this on my, is this on my soundboard yet, chat? Yagopnik, have you seen this before? Did I show you this before? I want to show you something that Hassan is never going to live down as long as I live. Thank you, Vio. He's never going to live this down. What? Ever. I involved in this fight. When you have the opportunity for I've said this.
Zohran is going to win.
Why is this thing what the fuck is going on with YouTube Shorts? I swear to God, every time I click on YouTube Shorts, it like fucking breaks Firefox. I'm dead serious. This shit just broke Firefox. Okay, there you go. Jesus Christ. There's some sort of like I'm on Firefox, LOL. I know it's very true. Has someone who's been like, look at this shit. Look at this shit.
Central Committee, aka Michael from Pennsylvania, is so much more of a China glazer than me. It's crazy.
It's true.
He eats Xi Jinping's so much sometimes. Even I'm like, come on, bro, just dial it back a little bit. Like, you're gonna get us arrested. You know what I mean? Yeah, Mike from Pennsylvania, more like Mike from Beijing. Beijing. My goal this year is to go to China and become a white monkey and just stay there.
Interesting. Another Mike was fucking right moment. That's right. And not only that, these motherfuckers, now he calls me Mike from Taiwan and shit. So these Beijing pies that VO made for me, meat pies, they're a symbol of that China glazing supremacy. Stolen valor, exactly. I'm suing for defamation. All right. Well, chat, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at level 10 in the hype train. The top sub gifter and the top bit donor get the hype train conductor badge next to their name. I got a surprisingly few amount of IT guys gifting subs. Like Paz Chronic did, and El Gato Grande did, and OG Chlor did, and Get a Grip 10 did, and DJ OK Hula did. There we go. Pork roll and eggs and Golvan. Okay, now we're talking. More oil. Exactly. Fucking. I see you. I see you, K-Biz. Feeling broke right now, but you're not broke because you're an IT guy. VO, get ready to be number 2 hype woman. Oh, true. Yo, Gopnik is taking VO's spot. He's trying to anyway. He's trying to seduce. The thing is, like, could never. I mean, honestly, man, like, I don't say this to like run you down or anything, but I would never select second best for my hype woman. You know, like VO is literally incomparable. There is no one that's on VO's level on the entire planet. Like you really don't get it. You really don't get it. It's fine. You could try, but there's really no one that's going to be on VO's level. You could try, but oh, this is the Maple Take VOD. Oh, find the point where I won the game. The point where I won the game is like roughly right around here. Let me see if I can win the game. Oh, here it is. This is the moment. This is the moment I won the game.
To the link in the chat. And if we hit $2,000, then Maple's going to put on a reindeer costume when he's back in town.
As soon as I get back to my place.
By the way, chat, I believe we have to hit 4,000 in this fundraiser. And now he's going to be making me a soundboard drop. So what should we get? What should we get Oliver Larkin, DSA endorsed candidate for Congress, to make the soundboard for me?
Saturday night.
Okay, it's our turn. So can we manage properties, Vio?
Oh, for sure. I can do that stuff if you want. So board map. Let's turn back on your States Avenue.
Yeah.
And it's $100 a house. So what you want to do?
Yeah, go ahead and take us down to as much as we can.
Just get one overextend. All right.
Yeah, buy 7. And obviously put the houses on the one that has that is further away from one of those two. The one that has the higher
I'm
rent.
gonna state the case why maybe put on St. Charles. It's a card, a chance card that's the people of St. Charles. And does that change your mind at all?
Okay, yeah. I didn't know about that, but so that's good.
And if you don't know this about Monopoly, here's another tip. There's a break point in Monopoly at the 3 house mark. The highest ROI is to go from 2 houses to 3 houses. So getting the 3 houses is the secret. Right? Notice how rent with 2 is 150, but rent with 3 is 450. That is a huge ROI. So getting the 3 houses is how you do it. I'm dropping Monopoly tips. Of course I am. If somebody drops a 50 bomb, wait, what did Vio said? If somebody drops a 50 bomb, you'll do what, Vio? If somebody drops a 50 bomb, I'll match them just to piss off Hugo. What the fuck? No. Save your money. Don't give it to Jeff Bezos. Pissing off 2 men with 1 move. Okay, nobody's dropping that anyway, but no.
Wanted to push it to the absolute limit. You could mortgage your railroad and build 1 more house and put that on the.
Do it. Yeah. Do it. Yeah.
I also mortgaged my Pennsylvania Railroad to put more houses on. Like, I want you guys to understand how much I overextended. This is why I'm the winner, okay? Because I don't take this shit slow, right? I went all the way balls to the wall, okay? This is the high variance play. You want me to? Yeah, do it. Do it. Mike the Slumlord. Exactly. It's a 6. He did it for me, Vio. Oh, damn. Yogopnik had an Oiler, and he got the Oiler? Planned attack, thank you for the 5 bomb as well. Oh, my God. He had an Oiler. Oh, shit. Vio with the 50 bomb. I've been streaming for 7 years, and I swear to God, I've never dropped a 50 bomb. I'm that much of a cheap ass because I hate giving any of my money to Jeff Bezos because he already takes 30%. So I'm just like, if I know someone, I'll take you out to dinner. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take you out. If I know another streamer, let me take you out to dinner instead of giving you subs. Like, I do occasionally do it. But Jesus Christ, I hate Jeff Bezos so fucking much. Okay. The first Zohran Twitch stream, chat, we have to talk about this a little bit. Because I was messaging Hassan and there were so many dicks and we were laughing our asses off in DMs. I don't know why. Some people think that Hassan was messaging people about Destiny's ban. No, we were messaging each other about the dick spam in Zohran's chat.
Drake, you're not allowed Drake.
I should have seen this coming.
But hey, it was a pleasure.
Did he show the dick spam in this video? I don't think they did. I was doing my part by mass reporting the bots. I mean, it's really their fault. They could have fixed it very quickly. Dicks and Israel flags? Oh, no. All right. I want to talk about more boring political nerd shit by saying there's a new poll of non-voters, and they hate Donald Trump and the right. Oh, yeah, Tulsi Gabbard got fired. My favorite example.
In the chat, let's try to be a little respectful, you know, keep it family friendly.
Appreciate it.
So we all know you used to be a rapper. Yes. Nah, just playing. Who is legend US Fair 5 _ said, who's your favorite underground rapper?
That's not good.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh man, they had an art piece of that was Nick Fuentes and the Catboy. Speaking of Nick Fuentes and the Catboy, don't forget that you can follow the Reaction Podcast, chat. We just released our newest episode on libertarian Stefan Molyneux. Stefan Molyneux, who went from ANCAP libertarian to fascist extremist. And you can see the libertarian pipeline. In 2012, there was all Redditors in 2012 were big fans of Ron Paul. And those Redditors went from that moment and they split. They either became Bernie Sanders guys, or they split off and they became fascists on the Trump train. Up dudes to the left. And Stefan Molyneux, he took the dark path. So make sure you go check that out. Of course, there's the podcast, the link tree, the reaction cast. We've smashed through 12,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is incredible. Make sure you are out there hitting all the things, joining the Patreon. Help us pay our editor. All right, Tulsi Gabbard fired. Resigned from DNI under Trump. Mr. President, I am deeply grateful for the trust you placed in me and for the opportunity to lead the office of Director of National Intelligence for the last year and a half. Unfortunately, I must submit my resignation. Effective June 30th. My husband, Abraham, has recently been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer. He faces major challenges in the coming weeks and months. At this time, I must step away from public service to be by his side and fully support him through this battle. Abraham has been my rock through our 11 years of marriage, standing steadfast through my deployment to East Africa on a joint special operations mission, multiple political campaigns, and now my service in this role. His strength and love has sustained me through every challenge. I cannot in good conscience ask him to face this fight alone while I continue in this demanding and time-consuming position. While I've made significant progress at DNI, advancing unprecedented transparency and restoring integrity to the intelligence community, I recognize there is still important work to be done. I am fully committed to ensuring a smooth and thorough transition over the coming weeks so that you and your team experience no disruption in leadership or momentum. Thank you for your understanding during this deeply personal and difficult time for our family. I will forever remain grateful to you and the American people for the profound honor of serving our nation as DNI. With love and aloha, Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are level 16 in the hype train. Jaeger Larson, Posh Kenneth, Flux22, Soviet Cranberry, thank you for gifting a 12-month sub to the Brain Domain, friend of the show. Joshua, and BT Buzzsaw, thank you for the 5 gifties. And of course, Alex Every Guy, thank you for the 5. Level 16, not bad, ladies and gentlemen, not bad. We got up to, we're only 40 subs away from 6,500. Not bad. That's pretty good. Not bad. Murder, destroy, kill, maim. I don't think that's quite how we spell maim, but I get the point. Oil. Thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals, for an amazing hype train of 230 subs. Let's go. Thank you, Vio. Thank you, DJ. You guys are the best. All right. What? What are you saying what for? And of course, thank you, Yugopnik, for being the amazing hype man. Good job, brother. You did. I hyped this whole thing. You did, actually. Everybody follow Yugopnik. Shout out Yugopnik. If you're not a Yugopnik fan, what are you doing? And Yugopnik, chat, he is the place to go, especially on the weekend. Why is shout out not working? I did it for love. I mean, yeah, obviously, but I'm shouting you out of love. You know, it's like, it's called the apes. When one ape picks the lice off your back, you pick the lice off their back. Of course you do. And I appreciate you. Chat, I want to say this. Without Yugopnik, the Reaction Podcast would not exist. The only person that could manage such a terrible podcast co-host like me is Yugo. The level of skill, the level of patience, the level of like forward momentum. The podcast, honest to God, he has carried it forward like a millstone on his back. Managing me is like Sisyphus, and he has done it. And I gotta say, without Yugo, there is no Reaction Podcast. It truly is his amazing organizational skills. Trump is skipping his son's wedding? All right, hit me with this. Hit me with this. Thank you, brother. We all bring something to the table. Just want you to know that I see it, I hear it, and I am not delusional about it. The GOP is attacking me for using GI benefits I earned by serving in wars Susan Collins voted to send me for. Disgusting yet unsurprising. You want to know how I pay for college? With 4 tours of the infantry. Susan Collins needs to condemn these vile attacks on my service. I mean, again, this is like not really. This is not really like the strategy that I would be using. I think it's very id poll coded. All right, what was I saying? By the way, chat. Oh God, I love this. This puts me in a good mood every time I see it. Let's watch it one more time.
I guess my first question is going to be, do you really think Hassan and Mike from PA should kill themselves?
I wish they would. Yes.
Do you think that's at all a harmful statement to make that goes against, I don't know.
I gotta say, chat, like this legitimately is my, this is like an antidepressant shot for me. Like, you know, when you have somebody who's obsessed with hating on you so much, and just by existing and thriving, you ruin their life. It's so fucking awesome.
Just objective morality?
No, I think their deaths by suicide would make the world a safer place for more people.
I think their deaths by suicide would make their life.
Oh, what a pussy. Come find me, Destiny, you fucking... Oh my God, you little worm. Holy shit. By the way, when somebody refers to this like suicide a lot like this, he might be thinking about it. Suicide. Am I going on Noah's? We'll see if we can make it happen. We'll see if we can make it happen. I don't have any firm date yet. But I'll probably get on there at some point. The guys advocating M4A are dangerous. Yeah, of course. That's disrespectful to worms. They serve a purpose. Honestly, he's a mosquito. If you want to know who Destiny is, he's a mosquito. That's the life form that he's the most similar to. They serve no biological purpose. They're a parasite. All they could do is damage. And if they were erased from the planet, the world would just be better. Like, the mosquito operates as in no niche. It serves no purpose. And they oftentimes crowd out other insects that are like pollinators and shit. They are literally useless. As a food source for bats or other creatures, they could be easily substituted by other insects. And mosquitoes violate consent with a tiny prick that you barely notice when they stick it in you. Just like Destiny. All right, let's keep going. Where was I?
Ballot at all in 2024. Those who didn't show up to vote, well, they have become absolutely perturbed. I dare say they are pissed off at the president of the United States. Voters
who did not cast a ballot in 2024. Donald Trump's approval rating, -50.
Cast a ballot in 2024. Trump's net approval rating. Back in November of 2024, just after the election, look at his net approval rating. It was +4 points for his plans in office. But look at that. It is fallen. Yeah. Whoo! There you go, Sarah Seidner. That's the only sound you can make. It has fallen through the floor. Look at this. -50 points on Trump's net approval rating among voters who did not, in fact, cast a ballot in 2024. That is, you don't have to be a mathematical genius, an over 50-point move against the president of the United States among those who are kind of like, meh, you know, in terms of voting in 2024. But now they are pissed off.
Well, and that's the thing. The turnout can have a huge impact on who wins a race. Give us some sense of why people are in this position, and I can kind of guess, but I'll let you tell us. Tell us the numbers.
I'll tell you the numbers. I mean, look, anyone who's been following these segments, anyone who knows anything about American politics knows it's the economy. It is the economy smarty pants in terms of Sarah Seidner. And you can just see it here. I mean, view of Trump in the economy, again, among voters who did not cast a vote in 2024. In November of 2024, 60% were confident in Trump to make good decisions when it came to the economy. But again, this number has just absolutely plummeted. Look at his approval rating now on the economy among those who didn't cast a ballot in 2024. It's 19%. It's only a third of those who were confident back in November of 2024. Again, we are just talking about numbers that are falling through the basement. If you hire the carpenters who built Donald Trump's floor in this, you shouldn't have.
So Trump isn't actually on the ballot technically, but Republicans certainly are. Is this going to have an impact, you think, on them?
Yes, absolutely. This is the key question, because it's not just about persuasion. It's about turnout, baby. It's about turnout. And these folks are not just pissed off and want to vote Democratic. A lot of them are actually very likely to vote. Okay, voters who didn't cast a ballot in 2024, their 2026 choice for the House. Look at this. Democrats are winning amongst them by 31 points, and 48% of them are either very likely or almost certain to vote in the midterm elections. So this is a group I'd really be paying a lot of attention on, because the reason why Democrats are doing so on the generic ballot is in large part among those who stayed home in 2024. Many of them will vote in 2026, and they won't be voting Republican. They'll be voting Democratic, because Truth is, they're just pissed off at the President of the United States.
We expect to see some potentially big numbers. I mean, judging from this at the polls or voters' numbers when it comes to the midterms.
When you're perturbed, you turn out to vote.
Do you know how hard it is?
And that's why we need people like Jamal Bowman and left-wingers in those as many Democrat seats as we can get, because the Democrats are going to win. So we are taking as many of these Democratic seats for socialists as we can. That's literally the plan. I'm sorry, that's not the plan that I want to do. It's not my favorite plan, but it is the only actionable plan.
Is to be working class and afford rent.
$95 left. Make Mike donate to Oliver Larkin's campaign and Mike will stream in the Sussy skin. Yeah, fuck, I forgot to mention this. Son of a bitch. I said if we hit, what was it, 5K, that I would stream in the Sussy skin for a stream, which is the fucking VO's Sussy stream. I forgot. I said if we hit 5,000 by the end of the stream tomorrow on Friday, then I would do a stream in the stupid fucking VTuber model. Son of a bitch. Mike, please, chat, I beg you, please let us have this. I will be so unhinged as a sussy. Not stupid, so true. So true. Can Mike be my Oshi? Yes. Do you think Jamal should run for Senate against Schumer? Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, if Zohran doesn't want it, I think Zohran should do it. But if Zohran doesn't want it, Jamal, yeah.
Or mortgage, utilities, transportation, childcare, food, and forget about if your child needs tutoring in school or wants to participate in extracurricular activities. This is what the majority of the American people are dealing with. Trump ran on the economy. He's failed in that regard. We're in a war we shouldn't be in. He's backtracked on the Epstein files. This is all why his numbers are in the tank. And Democrats have been pouncing, but hopefully we could finish the job for November.
I will note, to your point, by the way, average mortgage rates are now up to 6.56%. It's absolutely stunning. And that is preventing people from being able to buy homes. It's a separate point, but to something you mentioned.
Mortgage rates just hitting the highest level we've seen in 9 months. And as we gear up for the busy summer travel season,
Beijing meat pies are fucking like, they are like, these are dense. It's like solid meat. It's like very American. They're bricks.
Gas prices are higher than we've already seen in almost 4 years. Experts say they could get worse, too, with the war in Iran and the ongoing closure of the Strait of Hormuz destabilizing global oil markets. CNN business senior reporter David Goldman is here to break it down for us. David, let's start with mortgage rates. How high are we talking?
Yeah, 6.51%. That is, as you mentioned, the highest in 9 months. And the amount that it jumped over the past week was the largest jump that we've seen in over a year. And so what's going on here? Why is this happening? Well, the war in Iran is causing two things. It's causing inflation because of those gas prices that we'll talk about in a second. And it is a huge expense that the government needs to pay for. And you can think of the bond market like a scale, right? Where it's when you weigh down the price, the yield goes higher. What is based on that yield? Mortgage rates, consumer loans, credit cards, auto loans, things like that. And so what we're seeing is this imbalance. We've seen the bond market plummet in the last couple weeks, especially the last week, as we consider that the war will just continue and continue and continue. That's what investors think is going to happen. That's what is causing those mortgage rates to go higher, Boris.
And as the war continues, the Strait of Hormuz not seeing the traffic that it usually does, therefore oil prices go higher. How high are we talking in the United States?
Well, oil prices have maintained their level above $100 a barrel. And when you think about what was happening before the war, we had $60 oil. That was why we had $3 gas. With 110 even just a few days ago, now we're looking at $4.56, which is a wartime high. And every single U.S. state is now averaging more than $4 a gallon. It's going to be a painful Memorial Day for folks who are taking a road trip. Look at that. Indiana, Mississippi, these are not states that you think about with really high gas prices. Now even folks in the middle of the country are contending with very, very difficult road trips.
This is the biggest shock in terms
Swift Tour. Oh, Swift Tour was so cool. What the hell? Like, how do I not know Swift Tour? Like, I didn't feel like we ever chatted or anything.
Swifter says.
I made sure to follow because he's like an OG, right? Like, he's cool as hell. His vibes were immaculate.
energy supplies in world history. Now, some people have wondered, why haven't prices gone even higher? And that's because, in part, the world entered this crisis with a pretty sizable rainy day fund, right? Oil inventories, which act like shock absorbers, they were really high. However, now they're shrinking rapidly. Total U.S. oil inventories last week alone plunging by 18 million barrels. That's the most on federal data that goes back to the early 1980s. And emergency reserves, they're also shrinking. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve is down by 10% since the war started, falling to the lowest level in almost 2 years. Now, this is what those reserves are there for, right? They're designed to try to absorb a shock. It's kind of like savings in a bank account, right? It can help you ride out a storm, get through a financial emergency. Of course, it's not going to last forever, right? Eventually, you're going to run out. And so that's where the concern comes as far as the supply shock. And look, I know the president this week, he dismissed high gas prices as peanuts. But I've been talking to people who've been telling me that it's really, really painful. I talked to a computer technician in Pittsburgh, and he said he drives by the gas station every day. And he says the prices are just insane. But it's not just energy, right? It's also the cost of groceries, the cost of everything. He said
Yeah, I mean, obviously inflation. This is something that I used to say a lot in 2024 is that inflation is a derivative and people buy off the baseline, right? Like if I have something and it doubles in price, then it stops going up in price. And then you know what I mean? Like it's still, to me, my expectations are still back from before the doubling, right? And you go like, okay, it's not, it's not doubled in price anymore. It's now just increasing by 2%. That's further leverage. That's further pain, right? I haven't adjusted to the new price levels. Conspiracy libs are going crazy over a video of some bald guy. The shadow in his neck looks like he's wearing a mask, but it's just heavy lights. The problem with conspiracies is they're stupid. Because let's assume he is wearing a mask. So what? Let's assume that everything is true. That guy is wearing a mask. So what? And like, if you have a conspiracy theory, can we at least have a theory? Can we then have a second part and then blah, 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 blah? It's just he's wearing a mask. Oh my God. And then what?
Everything is going up right now except your paycheck. And Sarah, I do think that this is just another reminder of how painful high gas prices are, especially for people who are living paycheck to paycheck, right? This is just something that they can't avoid right now.
It has a big impact.
Pull your nose real hard to prove you own a mask. Like everybody knows it's me because I have stims. I have this stim. I have this stim. Like this, you know what I mean? I have my stims. You can literally see my weird stims. You know what I mean? Like there's things that I do where I'm like, I'm always like rubbing my nose like this.
You got to get to work. You got to get in a car to do that. And so you're paying more just to go to work and you can't.
But I don't even do anything. I just like grab the bridge of my nose right here. I just do this. I'm not even like rubbing anything. On the topic of energy, utilities are trying to dump distribution to residential consumers in favor of data centers. Yeah, because that's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass to do a residential consumers, whereas fucking data centers is one customer. That's easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Other extra things, especially, as you said, this is travel season. This is summertime. A lot of people are going to be upset with this. Matt Egan, thank you so much for breaking that down for us.
You know, one of the things that's been driving me absolutely crazy, that it just feels like it's just so cruel. It's just so cruel when you sit on this fact and you dwell on it and you think about it, you let it marinate and swirl around.
Honestly, we should embrace that and just enter into co-ops. We should embrace taking the residential energy market and turn everything into co-ops and like state-owned enterprise. And then we can nationalize the energy later and the data centers later with a gun. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure. And then with the gun, we just show up, with the government's gun, so it's legal. And we say, all right, data centers are now nationalized because they're a utility. They're too important. We can't have all that compute in private hands. It needs to be owned collectively. And done.
head a little bit. But Zohran Mamdani wasn't born in this country, so he's not going to be able to ever run for president. When I tell you that breaks my fucking heart, I mean, it breaks my fucking heart because...
Bro, he'll just be the fucking he'll just be the like majority leader in the Senate. Like, it's fine. That's honestly, that's even better. It means a president's only there for 8 years. You could be fucking majority leader in the Senate for 30 fucking years. We could have Zohran forever and always. Like, what do you mean? That's not heartbreaking. That's awesome. Because once people become president, they get an ego and they don't want to do anything else. And they're like, well, anything is lowering myself, so they fucking retire. So it's awesome if he was the majority leader. That's great. Most of the actual shareholder value for AI will accrue to application layer enterprise users, not to actual AI providers or data centers. So we'll need simultaneously nationalize most enterprises too. I mean, I see what you're saying, but economic power is about choke points, not controlling the entire flow. You know what I mean? So to get power for the proletariat class, we don't have to control every aspect of everything. We just need to have the choke points where we can strangle people. The Strait of Hormuz should have taught you that. And by retire, they just slut themselves out to billionaires, which is kind of a continuation. I mean, like, Jimmy Carter is the exception that proved the rule, right? Like, he started Habitat for Humanity, where he built houses for families for free, right? And then he spent his time like arguing counter-hegemonic positions for American foreign policy. He wasn't completely, you know what I mean? Which is why all the other former presidents hated Jimmy Carter. Bolivia is doing that now. The unions and indigenous people have shut down the economy. Oh yeah, shit. I need to do a Bolivia conversation. I keep wanting to talk about it. Chat, could I say something? Let's just say that I heard a report from somebody who would know. Based on the activity they see in Florida, they believe that America's about to attack Cuba. And this person is not a politically, like, they're not a conspiracy theorist, and they are extremely aware of these kind of issues. And I was like, they were like, oh yeah, they're definitely gonna, based on what they saw when they were in Florida, they were like, yeah, there's something going down. I feel like they can't do it while the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Like, the moment Iran does a deal with America, they're gonna attack Cuba. Like, that's literally what's happening. I wouldn't tell you this information from somebody. Like, obviously, you're just gonna have to take my word for it, but like, that's their judgment. So, and I consider this a highly credible source. That's cool. Bear with me.
He's one of those people where you look at him and you go, yeah, there's no doubt. Like, not only would he win, it would be a fucking landslide. It would be a cakewalk. I have full faith and confidence in his, his strategic.
I honestly do think Zohran would be an amazing president. Like, I based on the way he's like navigating the New York City, I think Zohran as president, he would be a very good president. I personally believe he would, but
ability in his chops when it comes to policy substance, like, he's got it. He's got whatever that is, whatever the thing is, whatever the X factor is, he is oozing with that X factor. And it's not just me saying this. I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way. You take one look at him and you go, oh, he's the one. He's the one. If he could run for president, and he did run for president, it'd be 400 fucking electoral college votes. The Republicans would be crying in the corner, and he would, day one, he'd already start moving us towards a utopia. Now, why can I say that with such certitude? Well, because we've seen what he's done, right? First of all, they always hit him with fake scandals, right? Like, one of the scandals they tried to gin up against him is he ate at an expensive restaurant. Like, really? That's how low you have to go? Like, that's how desperate you are, that he ate at an expensive restaurant? Like, what is that? Do you think that's going to make people... Oh, I could never vote for him. They also pointed out that his dad correctly said that Hitler admired the U.S. because that's a fact. They made it seem like, hey, can you believe his dad said that thing that's actually true? Yes, I can, and frankly, I don't care. Another one they did is he took a picture with an imam who may have been a bad guy. Like, who the fuck cares? Who cares? They try to say he's a Nepo baby. What? Like, yeah, that prominent family that he comes from. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Who are we kidding? Who are we kidding? And then when you get to the policy chops, as I've told you guys, he cracked down on shitty landlords virtually immediately as soon as he got power. He ordered a deep cleaning of the subway, which is pretty badass because everybody knows how dirty those subways are. He handled the winter storm that they got so well that even Republicans were giving him credit. As I always tell you guys, he played the game behind the scenes so well. Like, I was skeptical. Many people were skeptical. At certain points, we were like, I don't know about this, but it turned out he was right. He was able to get Hochul on board for universal child care. That's amazing. He knew how to work her behind the scenes and you know, shake the right hands and make the right decisions. He knows how to play politics. Like he's an ideological leftist, but he's also practical in the sense that he'll actually get the shit done that we want him to get done. He's freezing the rent because he was able to pack the board to do that. Taxing the rich. Like this guy, I mean, it's just win after win after win. It's astonishing. You look at, you're like, oh my God, it's the Trump quote of like, I'm going to win so much, it'll make your head spin. You'll say, please, sir, no more winning. I'm looking at this going, Zohran, please, sir, no more winning. My head is spinning. Can you please stop? I'm getting dizzy over here. So I tell you all of that to show you this. Why did I have to wait? I'm 38 fucking years old. Why did it take this long for some Democrat with some power to actually say some dope-based ass shit against Ronald Reagan? My whole life.
Don't you think you could have gotten more leverage by holding Hochul's re-election over her head? Listen, I'm with groundwork on this one, which is we should have primaried Hochul. We should have heightened the contradictions. We should have primaried Hakeem Jeffries. We should have gone to war. But maybe Zohran is right that he needs a track record of small wins, right? I'm willing to give him some rope, right? I'm willing to let him operate the way he thinks he should operate and try to get some W's on the board before I do this like ideological witch hunt fight, which obviously I want to do. So let me just say, I disagree, but he's the fucking guy who won, not me. And his judgment, ultimately, I trust the guy enough to let him try to make his play, right? Like, I didn't get elected to New York City, right, Mayor? Like, Zohran obviously has some sense of what the fuck's going on. And I do think people like him. I think it is working. And you know, what normies feel about Zohran is the way normies feel about democratic socialism, right? Like, this is something that everybody needs to accept. The way that normies feel about Bernie, AOC, and Zohran is how normies feel about socialism. And China as well, by the way. China is also in there. The more people like China, that's what people think about communism. Okay? Normies. If normies like China, that means they're going to have a higher approval of communism. China to them is the avatar of communism. So, like, and I'm not saying this because I want it to be true or I think it's smart that it is true. I'm just observing reality. Do you disagree with that? Does anybody disagree with me? Like, the people shortcut socialism to mean what Bernie Sanders and AOC and Zohran like. And they shortcut communism to mean what China is like. What about North Korea? I think what people think about North Korea is also what people think about communism. Absolutely. Right? And I don't know if you noticed, but North Korea is actually doing quite well right now compared to the previous 5 years. Like, North Korea is actually kind of economically, they're seeing a lot of improvement and they're being integrated more into the world economy because of America's maximalist approach toward Russia that has caused a thaw between Russia and North Korea. And North Korea is now getting closer alliances with Russia and China because of the United States' maximalist approach towards Iran, towards Russia, towards Yemen and the invasions of Venezuela and things like that. Like, North Korea is like, it's actually escaping from the pretty much complete blockade that it was under. And here you go, chat. Do you identify as a democratic socialist? Yes. 42% of Democrats, 6% of independents, and 1% of Republicans. So a plurality of Democrats now identify as democratic socialists. Only 50% of the population as a whole, 68% say no. But here's the thing. This is 15%. So that would be roughly like 30 million people, or like 40 million. Well, 30 million if we go by voters instead of the entire population. But if this is the entire adult population, it's something like 30 million. 30 million people call themselves democratic socialists. That's why it's a good idea. Because, by the way, the first thing to becoming an actual socialist is the identity as a socialist. If you're willing to play with the identity of a socialist, you're willing to listen to socialist ideas. So if you are willing to look at somebody like Zohran and go, that guy's a cool guy, maybe I'm a democratic socialist. That's how people change. That's how people change their minds on shit. You're moving the Overton window of what people think is plausible for normies. Now, this is a persuasion idea, which for a lot of people is not important to them, which, you know, I find that to be insane, but we care about that here. Democratic voters, what is your opinion of abundance? 94% never heard of, 3% disapprove, 3% favorable. Wow, I've never seen. That's crazy. Democratic socialism, 49% favorable, only 22% unfavorable, and 30% don't know. Oh my God, this is so fucking cool. Holy shit. Holy shit. The 1% of Republicans who identify as Democratic Socialist. Yeah, exactly. You're aware that America will never resemble Cuba. Yes, because we're the superpower. Superpowers don't get blockaded. Careful, you're about to get flamed for this by people who will also tell you their political journey started with the Bernie campaign. Editor Mentum with the rare good post. Perhaps Americans are already interested in socialism, so should we give them a non-genocidal, pro-worker political party to join? How do you look at a poll that has 15% people agreeing with you and then go, yep, we're ready to do our own thing? How do you look at this and go, yep, 50% approve, 68 no, we're ready to do our own thing now? How does that, how you approach numbers? Like, what? What's happening is we are making inroads with Democrats. That's what's happening, is that people that are Democrats are like, you know what? I kind of like democratic socialism. And then guess what's really cool about that? We win elections. There's a lot of people that are like, I'm not a democratic socialist, but I like Bernie Sanders. I'm not a democratic socialist, but I trust Zohran Mamdani. Those are the people that we can change to become socialists over time. Not that, I mean, God damn it, dude. Fuck me. Holy shit.
Democrats either said nothing about Reagan or they sucked Reagan off, right? Think of Bill Clinton. His whole thing was like, I agree with Reagan. You know, the era of big government is over. Like, I'm on the side of small government. He's the king neoliberal. Now, we have a resurgence of the New Deal Democrat, of the democratic socialist, of the person who's like, no, our government actually can be used for good, and I'm going to make government be used for good to help you. I know that crazy idea that you pay taxes and you just actually get good shit for those taxes. I know, wild. So Zohran is giving a speech here. Love this. I love this so much. And, bro, shots fired at Ronald Reagan. And that very famous quote that Reagan has, he fucking rips it apart casually, smoothly, seemingly without even trying. Watch this. This is glorious.
And standing here this morning, I cannot help but think of the words of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. He famously said, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. It's a good quote, but I disagree. I think 9 more terrifying words are actually, I worked all day and can't feed my family. We are going.
So he's been working on how to disprove that stupid Reagan quote, which, by the way, I can't believe he's not quoting Reagan and sucking his dick like Nancy Pelosi did for 30 fucking years, or Barack Obama did. He's saying those things are bad. He's actually attacking Ronald Reagan as sucking ass. Bars.
To use the power of government to lower prices and make it easier for New Yorkers to put food on the table.
God damn, son. See this? This is the mic, right? Ready? That's a mic drop moment, dog. What the fuck? Why did it take this long? Like I said, I'm 38 years old, bro. Why did it take this long for a Democrat to actually respond to and drop a rebuttal for that fucking Ronald Reagan quote, which unfortunately dominated the mindset and the philosophy of both political parties my entire life? The scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And he flipped that shit right back on him and said, no, actually.
By the way, that's such a funny thing. Like, I feel like every Republican should be asked, hey, do you believe that? And then if there's a fucking natural disaster, they go to the bottom of the line of like emergency response. No bailout, no funds, no help with your flood insurance. You don't want government help? Okay.
The scariest words in the English language are, I worked all day and can't feed my family. That's scarier. Yes, he's finally making the point that every person left of center believes in, whether you're a liberal or a leftist or left of that, right? The thing that we all agree on, very simply, is if you have a government, which every civilized functioning society does, the question is, what do you want that government to do? Do we want to pay taxes to a government that covers for child sex trafficking rings, that, you know, takes up for pedophiles, that enriches the military-industrial complex, that starts multiple illegal wars, that's a grab bag of corruption, that serves the Epstein class and the billionaires only? Do we want to pay taxes to the government and then say, like, hey, take my money and just, like, leave me alone? No, that's the Republican idea. You pay some taxes, but, you know, then the government's just, like, not going to do much for you when you pay. No, we want something for that money. We are demanding something. If we pay taxes to you, give us health care. Give us education. Give us paid vacation time by law. Give us free school breakfast and free school lunch, right? Give us all of these good things that make up the basics of a civilized society, of a functioning society, right? Like, this should be obvious. if you're not born into wealth and privilege, like a lot of these things, you need to have a society in place that can actually fund the basics, the necessities, the things that give you even a shot, a chance to live the American dream and make a decent amount of money and raise a family. And right now we've had this totally backwards ideology for the longest time of like, everything's a meritocracy, but you're on your own, basically. And the fact of the matter is, we never had a meritocracy. If anything, we live in an anti-meritocracy. Look at fucking Donald Trump is a billionaire. Do you think that system makes sense? Did he work that much harder than everybody else? No, he didn't. He's an asshole whose dad was a fucking multi-hundred millionaire. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's an obnoxious asshole. He failed up his entire life.
His father was a slumlord who got paid from government housing programs like Section 8 vouchers. So he was an evil slumlord who was able to like get government guaranteed income. Any brain dead fucking moron could have made that money if they were ruthless enough and a scumbag enough.
I mean, literally 60% of people who are billionaires were born into extreme wealth. This is not the harder you work, the further you go. I know so many people who work full-time job, multiple jobs, 2 jobs, 3 jobs in some cases, and they still live below the poverty line. Some of the hardest working people I know live at or below the poverty line. So it's got nothing to do with how hard you work, okay? It's got nothing to do with how smart you are. We have a lot of intelligence that's totally wasted because it's not harnessed properly, because our system is geared towards profit. Capitalism is about profit. Capitalism is about enriching the billionaire class, the Epstein class, okay? And unfortunately, oftentimes now we have a race to the bottom with capitalism. Socialism needs to be there to check capitalism's ass, okay? To get it in line, to regulate it, to make sure that the quest for profit doesn't happen at the expense of every other fucking thing that we value. I've said this a million times, but your economic value is not the same as your human value, right? Elon Musk is going to be a fucking trillionaire. Is that his human value? Did he just work that much harder than everybody else? Fuck no. No. We need to start valuing people at a human level more than an economic level now. Like that, we have a crisis under capitalism where all anybody cares about is the size of your wallet. And your life is dictated by the size of your wallet, the size of your bank account. And that mindset is changing. That mindset is changing. People are waking up to the fact that it's all fucking bullshit. That it's all bullshit. We can craft a society however we want to craft a society. And what we should do is tax the shit out of the wealthy, take that money, redistribute it to give people a chance at a decent life. Give people social housing, universal health care, free college, no medical debt, a living wage. Like, this is obvious. This is duh stuff. Even if we just taxed the rich and didn't do those things, it would still be better because extreme wealth corrupts democracy, and we don't want to corrupt democracy. So even if we were just taxing them for the sake of taxing them, that would still be better. But no, we can actually tax them and use that money to fix stuff, right? I know, crazy. Crazy, the idea that we can actually try to make things better. And by the way, that idea is just dead to most people in this country. The idea we can try to make things better, try to improve things, try to actually look towards a bright future. We're also nihilistic because everything's been erased to the bottom under capitalism in this country. Well, when you look at a guy like Zohran, you go, oh, finally a guy who gets it. A guy who's willing to say, how about I use the power of government for good? How about I use the power of government to help out working people? How about I try to, yes, spread the wealth around a little bit. Do wealth redistribution, that dirty word. Wealth redistribution used to be called common sense. That's what it is. Because everybody used to understand, hey, having a trillionaire, but also like 600,000 homeless Americans, that seems fucked up. That seems bad. That seems not right. Got like 60,000 homeless veterans too, but you got a trillionaire, soon to be trillionaire in Elon Musk. Like, I don't know, man. We don't need to accept that. That's not just a law of nature or a fact of reality. Like, you could change that fact. Like, there are things you can do through policy to fix that. So,
well, that's part of the problem is, like, of course Kyle's right here, but the point is I don't have to prove that to every single American. That's not how policy gets made. And the one advantage that the right has, and I include centrists, is they get that. All that matters is getting your people in power and operating in a coordinated manner. Right? And like, so they're not going like, oh, we've got to convince every Tom, Dick, and Harry of our whole policy program or whatever. They're like, we need to elect ideologically secure allies. And they get to work doing that.
So God bless him, man. I just love it. Ronald Reagan. I can think of Ronald Reagan. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Is the scariest words in the English language. That's what Reagan said. Zohran says, no, the actual scariest words are, I worked all day and can't feed my family. And you know what? That's exactly where we're at now. With the Epstein class in control, with the billionaires in control, with the fascist, terrorist, imperialist MAGA regime in control. That's where we are. $5 a gallon gas, You have inflation out of control, unemployment out of control, people struggling, 18 million people losing their health care, health insurance premiums doubling and tripling. If every Democrat talked like Zohran Mamdani, we would be looking at a blue wave, the likes of which we've never seen before.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm.
There you go, chat. I'm going to call it there. Don't forget, every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, we have a movie night. So I'm spamming my Discord right now because we are going to get together this Friday and we are going to be watching Apocalypse Now. The 1979 American psychological epic war film produced and directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Apocalypse Now. So we're gonna be checking that out. Director's cut. That shit is like 4 hours. I don't fucking know, man. One of the mods picked the version, so God knows it's gonna be long. Did we hit 5K? Yes. Yes, we did, chat. Unfortunately, we hit 5K. So, God damn it. You're going to be sitting sussy Mike. All right, everybody. Stay safe. Solidarity forever. Free Palestine. You guys are the best. We are winning. And I'll see you all tonight for Apocalypse Now. Peace out. Say hi to Vio for me.